Miller Park in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The New York Mets play the Milwaukee Brewers. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by the State Farm agent of the game, Hector Camillo of the Bronx. Contact Hector at hectorcamillo.com. By Jeep, the most awarded lineup of SUVs ever. Visit Jeep.com to learn more. By Geico, the #1 insurer in the New York market. And by Hyundai, get a great deal more than a great deal on all new Hyundai vehicles. See your Hyundai dealer today. Memorial Day weekend, and it is a spectacular day in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Perfect for every outdoor activity. But here in Milwaukee, they are very big on the tailgating. I mean, it's like a football game, the way they love to tailgate here. The beer and the sausage and the cheese, and they've got it all covered. And a pleasant good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Milwaukee. Gary Cohen, Ron Darling with you today as the Mets play Game 3 of their 4-game series against the Brewers. Mets won the first game. They lost in excruciating fashion last night. 10th inning, 2 out, a runner at first base. The wheels began to turn on the Mets bullpen, and they didn't end up turning right.
You know, there was a lot of decisions that Mickey Callaway could have made. He could have stayed with his pitcher, Robert Gazelman, but Yelich was 3 for 7, so I understand the move. He then brought in Jerry Blevins. Jerry Blevins gave up a hit to Christian Yelich. Now, what he could have done is decided to walk Aguilar and then pitch Blevins against Travis Shaw. He just did not decide to do that. He brought in A.J. Ramos to face Aguilar, and Aguilar walked the both batters that he faced. He threw 9 pitches, 8 balls. So I think right now when you look at it, Blevins didn't do his job. He didn't get his guy up. Certainly Ramos didn't do his job. And Ramos, right now to me, cannot pitch in real close situations until he figures out his mechanics.
So here's my question. Okay. If Ramos and Blevins are struggling as badly as they are, do you consider using Familia in a tie game on the road, which is against conventional strategy?
I mean, we've been told all winter that the Mets were going to go against conventional strategy, and I think that if they're going to talk about it, they certainly should do it. Now, listen, this is the same pitcher, Familia, that a couple of days ago most people were saying didn't get his job done. But, you know, you try to look at your bullpen late in games and identify who's your best talent, and Familia certainly is.
Meanwhile, for the Mets this afternoon on the mound to start will be Jason Vargas, coming off a terrific performance against Miami, his first win of the year.
You know, what was fun about watching Jason Vargas in his last start, he got back to what was really important for him. First pitch changeups, good breaking balls behind in the counts to get back in the count, putting hitters away in those 5 innings of great work.
So the Mets on a sunny afternoon in Milwaukee with the roof open, set to take on the Brewers. All the action coming your way this afternoon on SNY. Cash for life from the New York Lottery. You could win $1,000 a day for life. By your Tri-State Audi dealers, take a test drive today. And by Empire City Casino, current jackpot is now over $1.1 million. You could be the next big winner. Download the app, play for free, start your streak, and compete to win $5.6 million. Download Beat the Streak today in the App Store or on MLB.com/BTS. Jose Reyes in the lineup today. He and Adrian Gonzalez are set to go on a sunny Saturday afternoon. As Robin Yount looks on, well, he could play. First pitch coming up. Unfinished business from last night. These were the signs that this group brought last night. And we were wondering who Ed was.
Yes.
So we asked our viewers to tweet us and tell us who Ed was. And I mean, that would have been the reasonable thing to think.
Yeah.
Of course, Ed Kranepool's been a little under the weather, so maybe their thoughts are with them. Ed Charles passed away this winter, so perhaps
the glider.
Or maybe Ed is just in the ether. So I think we have an answer.
Yeah.
We'll get it at some point. Here's Geico Mets starting lineup. Reyes gets a start to give Rosario a day off. Otherwise, the same group out there. Brandon Nimmo leads off against Chase Anderson, takes the pitch outside, and we're underway. Nimmo took an 0 for 5 last night after a 4 for 4 game on Thursday.
Well, Anderson, his last 46 starts, he's 21-8 since coming over from Arizona. He struggled here so far, though, 2-2 with a 5.40 ERA with 9 home runs allowed at Miller Park.
Nimmo's on base percentage at .430. And Anderson quickly falls behind him 3-0. See that odd shadow with the late afternoon start, 3 o'clock local time. The shadow of the big part of the roof off the first base side. And that will certainly come into play for the first half of this game.
Anderson earlier at Citi Field might have pitched one of the best games we've seen by a starter against the Mets all year long.
Pitched into the 7th inning, allowed just 2 hits in that game. And he runs the count full on Nimmo with Cabrera and Flores to follow in the 1st inning. You see the uniforms with the green trim. Those are the Memorial Day uniforms that every team in baseball is wearing this entire holiday weekend. That's ball 4, and Nimmo's on base to start the day.
Well, defensively for the Brewers this afternoon, Eric Kratz is just signed, 40th player used by the Brewers already. It's not even June. Hernan Perez gets the start against the left-hander Vargas, and Christian Yelich now has seesawed between right and left in this series, depending if Ryan Braun's in the lineup. Of course, Lorenzo Cain gets on his horse and catches just about everything.
So the Mets have the leadoff man on against Anderson. And here's Asdrubal Cabrera, and every time you think Cabrera is going to start fading a little bit, he puts in a game like last night when he had 3 hits, and he pulls that one just foul. 0-1. Cabrera 4 for 10 in this series, up to .315 for the year. That's 9th in the National League, 2nd in the league in doubles with 15. See 19 multi-hit games. Chase Anderson, now 30 years old, came out of the University of Oklahoma. Wichita Falls, Texas, his hometown. Came over before the 2016 season from Arizona in the deal that sent Gene Segura to the Diamondbacks, and he had a really good year last year. He missed almost 2 months with an oblique injury, but when he was healthy, he was spectacular. Cabrera goes after a high fastball, and it's 0-2.
He missed some time this year, went on the 10-day DL. I've heard stomach virus, food poisoning, something to do with his stomach.
But last year 12-4, 2.74 in 25 starts. But this year his walks are up, his strikeouts are down, his home run rate has doubled from last season, so it has not been as good a start for Anderson, despite that great game he pitched against the Mets. And he misses with a fastball, 1-2.
Yeah, you talked about his strikeouts. The palindromic rate, maybe.
There you go. I like that.
8.5 strikeouts last year, 5.8 this year.
Maybe something to that. Abel was I. Nimmo at first and nobody out. 1-2 to Cabrera with Flores on deck, and Asdrubal got ahead of that fastball and pulled it foul. Where's the ball boy?
Well, I've watched him the last 3 days, and my scouting report, he's a really nice kid, but he's had a little trouble playing that carom off the wall.
But doesn't he have to keep going after it after the carom, and not make Christian Yelich come in and pick it up? Off-speed pitch pulled into right field, a base hit for Cabrera. Nimmo will go first to third as Yelich gets it in, and the Mets have the table set, 1st and 3rd and nobody out. So Cabrera down in the count, got a pitch to pull.
Keep trying to throw him that breaking ball, and even out front he's been hooking it into right field nicely. Nimmo just gets such a great break, head down, picks up the coach, running hard all the time. Fun watching him play.
By the way, just before we get any deeper, kudos to our video guys today. This is the hardest kind of game for them to shoot, because you have the block of shade and the block of sun. So send some good wishes their way.
I am.
Wilmer Flores 2 for 8 in this series, hitting just .160 with runners in scoring position this year, but a chance to do some early damage. 1st and 3rd and nobody out, and the curveball from Anderson misses, so he's fallen behind in the count early in this game. 2-0 to Flores with Bruce on deck. Anderson's made 1 start since coming back from that stomach issue, and it was a really good one against his old team. He beat the Diamondbacks, allowed just 2 runs and 3 hits over 6 innings. But he's given up first inning runs in each of his last 3 starts, and he's in danger in the first inning today. And he throws one by Flores, 2-1. And Flores lifts one foul. The first inning has been baseball's most prolific run scoring inning, and teams around baseball have tried to brainstorm about how to handle first innings better, whether it's getting starting pitchers more prepared or using a relief pitcher to start a game. The art of trying to figure out how to get through the first inning has evolved. Mets are even thinking in those terms for the doubleheader game on Monday. Flores pops one up into shallow right. Out goes Perez. Sliding, he can't get it. It falls for a base hit. That'll bring in Nimmo with the game's first run. Cabrera stops at second. Flores with a pop fly single to bring in the run. And it's 1-0 New York.
Well, no good fortune late in the game for the Mets last night. So some nice good fortune here early in the game for Wilmer Flores and the Mets. Fooled by the breaking ball away. Really the changeup kind of down and in, and he just flicks at it. Perez did a nice job of getting even close to making that play, but once he gets there, watch his body kind of with the glove flicks it away from him. That allows Cabrera to get to second base, and Flores safe with a single.
You know, one of the things that characterizes Wilmer Flores is he puts his bat on the ball. He doesn't always make great contact as he didn't there, but that is now 34 straight plate appearances where Wilmer has not struck out.
Yeah.
And as they always say, if you put the ball in play, something good might happen, and that was a classic example.
When you strike out, it's always something bad happens.
So now Jay Bruce, who's 1 for 9 in this series. Mets have a run in, still nobody out. And Jay takes a whack at an inside fastball, 0-1.
I mean, it's an ugly swing. It's an ugly result. I shouldn't say ugly result. Ugly pop up, but it ends up with a great result.
Not much exit velocity, not the best launch angle, but it's a hit. Bruce fouls one back. There was a great article in The Athletic today by John Edwards about Jay Bruce and how pitchers have adjusted to him.
Yeah.
His happy zone is middle away, and they are just pounding him inside this year, and it's really taken a toll on Jay. Numbers are way down, just 3 home runs through his first 155 at bats. And the first 2 fastballs from Anderson were on the inner half. And they set up there again, and Bruce fouls it back.
But see, there's a pitch. It's an 0-2 pitch. He set up inside, but the ball was middle. That's a pitch that Jay covers for the most part. When you're going bad, though, as Jay is right now, and Anderson's a tough mark for him. 1 for 17 in his career.
Yeah, so you're saying even when he gets his pitch,
yeah,
he's not necessarily doing what he needs to with it. Michael Conforto on deck. Anderson just looking for an out right now, and Bruce manages to waste that changeup away. We mentioned it last night. Jay's hit 35 home runs against the Brewers. If he's going to get well against any team, this would be the one. More home runs against the Brewers than against anybody else. Anderson already 20 pitches deep in this first inning and still looking for his first out. And he sails one up high to Bruce, 1-2.
You know, I'm trying to think about why the first inning would be such an issue. Is it because around baseball that the best players that you have are batting in the second slot? You're seeing the best hitters. They used to bat in cleanup spots. Sometimes you get through them through the first inning 1, 2, 3 without facing that best hitter.
You know, often the best hitters are hitting 1-2 now, yeah, in a lot of lineups. I mean, try and face the Red Sox and get through Mookie Betts to start a game.
That's right.
1-2 coming, and Bruce fouls up another fastball. Well, April 14th, Chase Anderson threw a terrific game against the Mets, working into the 7th inning. Was the only Milwaukee win in that series, and he's done well against the Mets every time they faced him. Really, 5 career starts, 2-2, 2.86. So the Mets try to put a crooked number up against him here in the 1st inning before he can get settled in. This is with a changeup, and now it's 2-2.
One of the things you notice about this series, I think these 3 or 4 fly balls to center field, very deep for Jay. But he's not been pulling the baseball. All of those would have been home runs if he pulls the baseball.
8th pitch of the at bat coming from Anderson to Bruce. And Jay lays off another changeup, and it's 3-2. Well, he had him 0-2, and then he started going with the soft stuff, and now he's run the count full.
This whole crew of umpires, all the quartet of them, are very good hitter umpires. They don't really punch out too many people.
Marty Foster, the home plate umpire today. Well, Cabrera at second, Flores at first. Not much speed out there. Nobody out. 3-2 to Bruce. They're not running. And Bruce takes outside, ball 4. So Anderson had Bruce 0-2, and he loses him to a walk. His 2nd walk of the inning, and the Mets have the bases loaded, nobody out, with a run already in. And Michael Conforto coming up, and Derek Johnson, the pitching coach, heading out to the mound.
You know, that's the shame of it, as we've seen the Mets here already with Brandon Nimmo coming back from an 0-2 count to get his walk. Jay Bruce coming back to get his walk. Remember the 9th inning last night. 3 amazing really at bats when you think about it, from Conforto, Mesoraco, and Guillorme to work out walks. So the Mets have taken some tough at bats, and that's why last night was tough to swallow, because it could have been a real uplifting win.
Well, not just the fact that they let it get away late, but the fact they couldn't tack on in that 9th inning after they tied up the game. Craig Counsell, the Milwaukee manager, can barely look. He's got one of his best pitchers on the mound, and he's faced 4 batters and has not retired a one of them. So a big opportunity for the Mets in this 1st inning. Already up 1-0. Conforto homered last night at the plate, and Anderson starts him off with a changeup, and Conforto down in the count 0-1. Things have been looking up for Michael. 2 for 7 in this series, including that unlikely home run last night that he basically hit one-handed. And he pops this one up in foul ground. Shaw coming over near the dugout, but he'll be out of room. And again, Anderson gets ahead in the count, 0-2. Conforto's home run last night was his 5th of the year. Bruce and Conforto have 8 home runs between them. They combined for 63 last year.
After last night's game, Rosario has as many home runs as Bruce.
Rosario getting the day off today with Reyes in the lineup. Mesoraco on deck. Anderson about to throw his 28th pitch of this opening inning. Bases loaded, nobody out. And he can't get Conforto to chase the changeup, and it's 1-2.
Anderson's trying to pull a DeGrom here in the 1st.
He's got a long way to go. I haven't seen him throw his cutter yet, which is a big part of his repertoire. Trying to get by with fastballs and changeups in this 1st inning. 1-2 coming, and he strikes him out with a changeup for the 1st out of the day.
Well, really, that's what we've seen from him. His curveball has not been effective, so his changeup maybe his best pitch in this inning, and he gets it against Conforto. Just wondering if there's, you know, this is Anderson and Kratz first time, right?
Eric Kratz not only just joining the Brewers, but first time in the organization. Just came over from the Yankees yesterday. Here's Mesoraco, who knows about working with a new pitching staff, and he takes a changeup for a strike. Mesoraco has a home run in 2 career at bats against Chase Anderson. 2 for 8 in this series, and starting for the 4th day in a row. First time he's done that this year. Bases loaded, 1 out. And Mesoraco drives one to right. Coming on is Yelich. He'll have to play on a hop base hit. In to score is Cabrera. Everybody else moves up a base. Mesoraco with an RBI single to make it 2-0 New York.
Well, that is where the shadows came into play there. By the time Yelich got to that ball, he was in the shadows and came into the lightness. First the pitch. Fastball away. Nice job by Mesoraco going the other way. But see how that ball comes from the shade to the lightness. And I think Wilmer did the right thing. Go halfway. There's nothing he could do because really Yelich should have caught that baseball.
So now 2 runs are home. Still only 1 out. Bases loaded for Adrian Gonzalez, who's 1 for 7 in this series. But he has great career numbers against Chase Anderson. 9 for 21 with 5 walks and a home run. And takes the first pitch fastball for a strike. Two walks and 3 singles in this opening inning have produced a couple of runs. 32 pitches already for Anderson. Gonzalez, the number 7 hitter at the plate. Reyes hitting 8th is on deck. And Gonzalez fouls off the changeup, and it's 0-2. How many hitters has he been ahead of 0-2 in this inning?
Can't finish him off. That's not a good thing.
I count 4, maybe 5 0-2 counts he's had among the 7 batters he's faced, and he's only retired 1 of them. Flores at third, Bruce at second, Mesoraco at first with 1 out. And Gonzalez pounds 1 foul.
Well, Vargas this year, he has not pitched well except for his last start, but in his 4 starts the Mets have only scored 6 runs, so they're trying to do something a little different today for JV.
Well, the start he made on Monday, they scored only 2 runs the whole game and won it 2-0. Now he's already 2 runs to the good before he takes the mound. And Adrian takes the changeup well out of the strike zone, 1-2. There is nobody up yet in the Milwaukee bullpen, but you have to think if this inning goes too much further that somebody will begin throwing. 35 pitches already for Anderson in this first. So what the Mets did after DeGrom had that 45 pitch first, they took him out of the game, and that's without allowing a run. Gonzalez gets jammed and pops it up on the infield. And hustling in is Perez to grab it after the infield fly rule is called, and that's the 2nd out. So Gonzalez can't get a run in, and now it's left to Reyes to do some 2-out damage. Jose making his 11th start of the year. Appeared as a pinch hitter last night in the 7th inning and grounded out. Flores, Bruce, and Mesoraco the base runners with 2 down. Reyes 8 for 56 to start the year. 1 for 13 with runners in scoring position, and he goes after a first pitch changeup, 0-1.
It's about the 4th first pitch changeup he's thrown in this inning. You know, on the human side, Reyes has taken a lot of criticism lately. He could really use a knock here.
Mickey Callaway was asked before the game if he was going to give Rosario a day off. Why Reyes and not Guillorme today? He said that's what Jose was brought here to do, and he's still a part of this team.
Faint praise.
Yeah, well, so here he is trying to get the job done, and he lays off that changeup, and it's 2-1.
Why am I in the booth today? Because Keith's not here.
This is what you were brought here to do.
If I'm still employed by SNY, I got to do the games.
Anderson about to throw his 40th pitch of this first inning. And Reyes lays off, and it misses, and now it's 3-1. So Jose in as advantageous a spot as you could ask for. A pitcher who has expended a lot of energy in the first inning Bases loaded, 3-1 count.
And despite that, you'd be disappointed if you only get 2 runs in this inning.
Absolutely. Especially now. And Jose takes a strike, and now it's 3-2. So that'll set the merry-go-round in motion. Flores, Bruce, and Mesoraco will all be running with 3-2 and 2 out. And Reyes takes outside, ball 4 to force in the 3rd run of the inning. 3rd walk given up by Anderson, and it's 3-0 New York. Close pitch. Reyes laid off. And he has his 2nd run batted in of the season.
Good at bat by Jose. Great discipline. And they are starting the bullpen in Milwaukee.
Well, now the question is Jason Vargas allowed to swing the bat? He has not yet. We saw DeGrom allowed to swing the bat for the first time since his elbow problem in his last start. Vargas, with the broken hand that set the beginning of his season back, has not been allowed to swing yet.
A 2-0 bunt for a hit towards Aguilar might work, Gary.
Vargas, when he's allowed to swing, is a pretty good hitting pitcher. I don't know if he has the drag bunt in his repertoire. And there's the curveball for a strike from Anderson, and it's 0-2.
Well, I don't know if those 35-year-old legs will get him down there in time either.
You know what? If he gets it past the pitcher, he might be able to beat it out. Be a big surprise now with 2 strikes. And the curveball, he does swing and fouls it off. So there is Vargas's first swing as a Met. And it results in a foul ball.
I don't care what's wrong with you. Bases loaded, you got to be swinging the bat.
So now all the Met pitchers have been liberated.
Cleared to go.
Or maybe not. Maybe he wasn't supposed to. Pitch number 46 of the inning, and Vargas strikes out, and Anderson finally puts the brakes on a big first inning for the New York Mets. Mets put up a 3 spot to give Vargas the early lead. Lineup after a day off playing left field. Travis Shaw gets a start against a lefty. That doesn't always happen. He struggles against lefties. Hernan Perez will get a start at second base today. And there is Jason Vargas trying to make it back-to-back quality starts.
Well, Land Rover numbers, we don't need to look at those because his last start was outstanding. I think the big key for Jason Vargas in this ballpark is 42% of his outs in his career have come in the air. And this ballpark is a hitter's paradise.
Well, it was an ugly first inning for Chase Anderson, and didn't get any better.
I mean, we're sorry, Chase, that we showed that, but it's too good to pass up.
At some point today, we have to show his slide from earlier this year, don't we? We showed it the first time he started just because it had very outstanding comedic value.
Hey, we can make fun of you. We'll do it.
Well, Chad Qualls is still living off that. Lorenzo Cain leads off against Jason Vargas. Cain is 2 for 9 in this series, hitting .395 against lefties this year. And this is for a Brewers team that has struggled against left-handers, and we saw that in the first game of the series when Steven Matz dominated them for 6 innings. Brewers as a team are hitting .209 against left-handers. Cain hits one on one hop to Reyes. It comes up to his chest and he throws him out, 1 away.
Defensively behind Vargas today. Mesoraco, you said 4 straight games he started. Reyes is in there for Rosario, gets the day off, and in the outfield every single day with Nimmo, Conforto, and Bruce with Cespedes out.
Cespedes and Frazier still with the team doing their baseball activities now, but not ready for rehab stints yet. Here's Christian Yelich, who takes a curveball down from Vargas for ball 1.
Nimmo was 0 for 5 last night, but he made a heck of a catch going towards the line in left field last night.
Yelich 3 for 8 in this series. And it takes the fastball away, and it's 2-0. Yelich at .287 for the year, .260 against left-handers, and had the big hit against the lefty last night when he pulled a curveball into right field against Jerry Blevins in the 10th inning. And now Vargas is behind him 3-0 with Ryan Braun on deck. Vargas walked only 1 in 5 innings, allowed 2 hits, and struck out 7 against the Marlins. He was terrific. But he walks Yelich on 4 pitches, and the Brewers have a 1-out base runner. And judging from Marty Foster's strike zone today, there may be a lot of walks.
What strike zone? I mean, this entire quartet of umpires are, let's say, they have a strict, not loose interpretation of the strike zone.
It's Mike Winter's crew. He's at second base today with Drake and McClinsky on the corners. So now Ryan Braun, who came off the bench last night and drew an intentional walk in the 9th inning. Just back from the disabled list after a battle with some back problems. He was 1 for 4 on Thursday. Off to a slow start in his age 34 season. It's 5 in a row out of the strike zone from Vargas. 1-0 to Braun. Vargas leaned on his changeup very heavily in the start against Miami. He threw it 43% of the time.
And he's come out throwing a lot of fastballs, and I wonder if he thinks it's a 3-0 lead, he should be more aggressive. I say no. He should continue to throw that changeup.
And he gets the fastball in for a strike, 1-1. Braun, one of the hitters in the lineup who has faced Vargas before. Jesus Aguilar on deck. Vargas has 1 career start against Milwaukee, and it came 8 years ago when he was a member of the Mariners. Yelich at first and 1 out. And he comes inside to Braun, 2-1. Jason Vargas out of Long Beach State, drafted by the Marlins, pitched for the Mets in '07. Was moved along, and 11 years later made his return, and last start finally got his first win as a Met.
I just think there's certain pitchers in baseball, like a Syndergaard, DeGrom. If they get a 3-run lead, they can go right after the hitter, especially in the first inning. Vargas doesn't have that kind of stuff. He's got to use all 3 of his pitches, no matter what the score is.
Basically, you're saying he has to be who he is.
Yeah.
And in his first 3 starts this year, his command was so off, he found himself in the middle of the plate a lot, and he just can't afford to be there.
1 curveball, all fastballs in this inning so far. Getting Callaway's attention, I bet you.
3-1 to Braun with Aguilar on deck. And Braun takes outside ball 4. Changeup on 3-1 that missed. Back-to-back walks by Vargas after Anderson walked 3 in the top of the inning. So just like that, the Brewers get the tying run to the plate with Jesus Aguilar, whom the Mets have held in check so far in this series, but he came in raging hot and hit 4 home runs in his previous 5 games. He's gone 0 for 7 in the first 2 games of this series. So Vargas with some early traffic to deal with. And a first pitch curveball in for a strike to Aguilar.
Nicely done.
I mean, if he can get through Aguilar, you got Shaw on deck, and I understand why Craig Counsell has Shaw in there today. He had a huge night last night, and he's probably their most productive hitter, but he struggles big time against lefties.
A pitch inside that was very effective against the Marlins. He threw for strikes. He has missed each and every time inside to the righty so far in this game.
There's Shaw on deck. Yelich second, Braun at first. Both run well. And again missing low and in, that time with the changeup, and now it's 2-1. I mean, you've talked about it so many times about the less velocity you have, the more you have to pitch inside.
You do, and in these circumstances, what does he want? He wants the ball on the ground. So 2-1 changeup, down and away. Try to get Aguilar to get big and put the ball on the ground. Get yourself a double play.
Curveball popped up foul. That'll come back out of play. And now it's 2-2.
Remember, the one thing we noticed, Gary, in his last start when he was so good against the Marlins, each and every changeup, each and every slow pitch, curveball changeup was on the knees. It was down. That one was up.
Two-two, and he struck him out with a curveball. Vargas fans Aguilar for the second out.
Well, the one thing we've learned in this series is that you don't have to throw strikes to Aguilar. He really wants to swing the bat. You were talking about how hot he is. He wants to swing it.
And he doesn't seem to like the breaking stuff very
much.
Not. Syndergaard dominated him with sliders last night.
Nice pitching there by Jason.
So 2 out and 2 on. Here's Shaw, who drove in 3 of the 4 Milwaukee runs last night with a homer, a double, and that walk-off walk. But he's hitting just 149 against lefties with no home runs. And he's facing Vargas for the first time. 2 out and 2 on. Shaw with 13 home runs, 3rd in the league, 34 RBIs, 7th in the National League, 26 extra base hits, second only to Ozzie Albies in the National League. And the first pitch curve knocked down by Mesoraco, ball 1.
You know, because of the shift against Straw, Yelich is really thinking of stealing third. We've seen this before by the Mets. They don't mind giving up the stolen base. Flores is so far off the bag. By the time Yelich comes, it's almost impossible to make the throw to a moving target and tag Yelich at the same time. I don't think so.
Mets don't play as much of a shift against Shaw with a lefty on the mound as they do with a righty. And the fastball in for a strike, 1-1. Travis Shaw had a breakout season last year, 31 homers, 101 driven in after coming over from the Red Sox, and he has become the linchpin of this Milwaukee batting order. He lines one into right field, and he's got a base hit. Around third, Yelich will come in to score. So Travis Shaw comes through against the left-hander and drives in Milwaukee's first run of the day. It's 3-1 New York. Might have broken his bat, but he got enough of it to get it out to right field.
Well, the walks will kill you when you have a lead after the first inning, and the first one comes in. Jammed, base hit, breaks the bat, produces a run, and these Brewers, when Shaw drives in a run, they're 15-3. Yelich gets the good jump, of course, with 2 strikes, and he's got great speed. Braun used to have great speed, but he still runs pretty well. He goes from first to third.
So both teams off to a good offensive start, thanks in large part to bases on balls. And now Hernan Perez, 1 for 4 in this series, and he takes a fastball for a strike. So Vargas, after not giving up a run in his last start against Miami, gets ticked in the first inning. Quickly ahead on Perez, 0-2. That's what Hernan Perez has done against the Mets. You know, you can lament all you want, the walk-off walk to Shaw, but Ramos's walk to Perez that set the stage for that might have been even bigger.
Well, you brought 2 relievers to get the batter they're supposed to get out. Blevins couldn't get Yelich out, and Ramos was brought in to get Perez. He wasn't able to get him out either. That's the big thing when you bring relievers in. They got to get that first hitter out.
Sometimes their only hitter.
Yeah.
Runner goes, pulled past Flores and down the line, an extra base hit. Braun is in. Shaw racing for third. He's going to be waved home, and he'll score without a throw, and the game is tied. Hernan Perez with a 2-run double, and it's 3-3 in the first.
Is that an 0-2 pitch, Gary?
1-2.
1-2. Okay. Missed the pitch. I just hate to see Mets get 3 and they give 3 right back. Pulled past Flores at third base, and because the runner on first was running, that allows Shaw to score. Doesn't have tremendous speed, and we're tied.
It didn't take long.
Gee.
Dave Island has visited Vargas. How often do you see pitching coach visit the mound in each half of the first inning?
That's right.
Especially with these new rules. Certainly haven't seen it before today. Now Tyler Saladino playing shortstop again today, 1 for 8 in the series. And Perez takes off for third. The throw by Mesoraco, and he's safe. Perez got a great walking lead, and he steals third, his 3rd stolen base of the year.
The Mets have spent a lot of attention on keeping runners close at first base. They do really little to hold runners at second base, and an easy steal for Perez. I mean, no one's there. It's like, okay, we'll just let him steal. Want to hold our defensive positions 90 feet closer.
0-1 to Saladino, and it sits high, 1-1. Saladino's gotten off to a great start since coming over to the Brewers from the White Sox. Guy who's always been a light hitter, batting .324 since his arrival. Leaving it upstairs, and it's 1-2.
I mean, one more hit, and then the Mets have to think about getting their bullpen ready, don't you?
Well, I guess the only fortunate part about that is they've got a very well-rested long reliever. Chris Flex has been here for a week and hasn't been in a game. Change up off the plate, 2-2 to Saladino, and he just doesn't have the same command of that changeup that he did on Monday. There's Flexen already loosening. Yeah, very nice. 2-2 coming, and he struck him out with a changeup to end the inning. But after the Mets put up a 3 spot in the top of the inning, the Brewers respond in kind. start the second inning same way we started the first, with Brandon Nimmo leading off against Chase Anderson in a tie game. And Nimmo gets one in the air to right field. Yelich moves back onto the warning track, back near the wall. It's out of here. Brandon Nimmo goes deep for his 4th home run of the year. And the Mets are back in front 4-3. After Anderson threw 46 pitches in the first inning, his first pitch of the second inning leaves the yard. And Nimmo's fine series continues.
Smart hitting by Nimmo. He knows that Anderson wants to come out after all the walks and be aggressive. First pitch over the plate, fastball, and he doesn't miss it. Really hit that. That ball traveled. It was up in the air and just kept carrying on Yelich.
Well, we know the ball carries really well to right field here, particularly when the roof is open. Here's Asdrubal Cabrera, and he swings at the first pitch fastball and fouls it back.
Here's the home run swing. Gets a little under the baseball, does Nimmo. But no take back, just a short stroke. Still hit home runs that way. 10 home runs now allowed by Anderson in this ballpark this year.
Nimmo homered on Wednesday in the last game of the homestand, and now he has his 4th of the year. So in this series, he's got 2 doubles, a triple, and a home run. With an 0 for 5 game in between. That's hard to do. And the changeup in for a strike. Cabrera didn't think so. 1-2.
So he's got the series cycle.
Yeah. He's got a lot of things working right now.
Yes, he does.
One-two coming, and he just got a piece of the curveball to stay in there. Cabrera had a base hit to right field on an off-speed pitch in the first inning, and came around to score. That's got 3 in the first. Flores, Mesoraco, and Reyes with the RBIs. Big shift against Cabrera. Anderson's 1-2. And it's in there for a call strike 3. Got him looking at a changeup. And Cabrera is down on strikes for the first out.
You see the infielders all moving around with the shift. Getting out of the shift from Cabrera. Now getting Travis Shaw back in his position at third base.
Maybe they should station someone in shallow right field. That's where Wilmer hit it his first time up. Pop fly that fell in for an RBI hit. And takes a curveball for a strike. And Anderson certainly looking a little sharper here in the second inning, despite giving up that home run to Nimmo on his first pitch.
Well, you get rejuvenated when you have a horrible inning like that and your team comes back and ties the score. You feel rejuvenated, like, okay, fine. Okay, bad inning, it's 0-0. Let's start over. First pitch, home run.
But then the question is, how much does a 46 pitch inning take out of you, and what impact does it have moving forward?
Yeah, he's going to, he'd be lucky to get 5 innings in this game. They put him on the 10-day disabled list because of his stomach issue. He had lost close to 10 pounds. So I don't know if he's put the weight back on yet. But
well, he's also not a guy who has thrown a lot of pitches in games this year. His pitch count high this year has been 97. Wilmer lays off the curveball, and it's 1-2. Jay Bruce on deck. And Wilmer hits another one to right field. Yelich coming in for this one. And he gets there to make the catch. 2 out.
Anderson's at his best when he keeps mixing it up. Last year, all 5 of his pitches, he threw at least 12% of the time or more. What does that mean? It means that for him to get by, he really very rarely throws the same pitch twice. He's always cutting it, sinking it, four-seaming it, curveballing it, changing up. Does a little bit of everything. That's what makes him, that's his strength.
Bruce, who worked out a walk his first time up. And Jay goes after a first pitch change up, 0-1.
Joe seems to have a little more life at the plate today. Body language a little better.
Quickly down the count, 0-2. See that shadow moving inexorably out toward the left field fence. Boy, Ryan Braun and Brandon Nimmo, the left fielders, will be happy when it's gone. Bruce fouls it back. Braun is shading his eyes before every pitch.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's so difficult because the ball comes out of the darkness and it'll come into the light. It's very difficult.
Which I guess is why he's not wearing his sunglasses.
Yeah.
But you'd like to have flip downs out there, wouldn't you? So you can make the adjustment when the ball comes into the light.
You know, I asked a few players about that, and I don't know if Ryan Braun's one of those players, but a lot of players today don't know how to use the flip downs because they don't grow up with them, so they don't use them.
Amazing. I mean, they were made for baseball, for just this kind of circumstance.
It doesn't even matter that they're made for baseball. They're one of the coolest things about the game with eye black.
We thought that.
You know how good you look when you're able to flip them down?
See, we thought that, but maybe it's generational, Ronnie.
Getting old, Gary. We're getting old.
What is hip today may soon be passé.
There you go. Ruben Amaro Jr. at first base. I've been watching him all year. He not very keen on catching any of the foul grounders this year.
Don't grab him unless you know you can.
Yep.
Seventh pitch of the at bat, and Jay gets tied up, but he held the swing, and it's 2-2.
Oh, it looked like a strike to me. Like I said, or you said before, you're not going to get a lot of called strikes from this umpiring crew.
Well, Jay had a 9-pitch walk his first time up. He's about to see the 8th pitch of this at bat, and he breaks his bat, flies it into right center. Yelich comes over, gives way to Kane, and that retires the side. Bruce shatters a bat and flies out, but Brandon Nimmo, the happiest man in baseball, another reason to smile. 4th home run of the year puts the Mets up 4-3. Well, Jason Vargas, for the second straight inning, goes to the mound with the lead. Gave up the lead in the first inning. Now he's up 4-3. Eric Kratz, his first at bat as a Brewer, hits the first pitch on the ground to Wilmer Flores at third. Wide throw, but Gonzalez with the good footwork to stay on the bag and get the out. Boy, Gonzalez has done a terrific job around the bag, saving errors this year. Well, we mentioned earlier that the signs that we saw yesterday, welcoming, paying tribute to Ed, Keith, and Ron.
Yeah.
Turns out the folks that brought the sign were paying tribute to our buddy Ed Coleman.
Oh, great!
Which is always a good thing. And Ed even once did a game with us here in Milwaukee. I don't know if you remember.
Keith was sick, right?
Sick. So now, today they have come back with new signs.
And we get to see the especially Haji senior moment. Okay, that's cool. We have our own senior moments up here.
And by the way, it's Boonton,
New Jersey. Where's that located, Gary?
In Boonton.
Okay. I'm starting to worry about Wilmer's throwing, by the way. Are you? I mean, every single throw is off.
Well, you lived through watching Howard Johnson throw to first base from third. What was that like?
I remember he made a throw in Pittsburgh that went in about the fifth row. And he came to the mound. I called him to the mound. I said, Haji, I said, Hojo, someday you're going to laugh about this moment. So just clear your mind and go out there and you make the next play. But it was one of those things that he just, you could see it on his face that he just was terrified at that point of throwing the ball around the diamond, and you're just trying to, as a teammate, kind of put your arm around him. But those things you have to kind of get out yourself.
But he was such a good offensive player. People used to joke about maybe him one day having a 30-30-30 year, right?
That's right.
He had the 30-30 years for the Mets and didn't ever have 30 errors in a season, but there was a time when you worried about that.
I mean, when he would get a ground ball, you would just stand on the mound and go, come on, man. Come on. Okay.
Are you aware of the Ralph Kiner line?
No,
regarding Hojo? So it was one day he had made a whole bunch of errors, and he finally made a perfect throw, and he got a sarcastic standing ovation from the crowd. And Ralph goes, "There's never been more fuss about a lack of an arm since the Venus de Milo."
Well, that's a great
line. A great line, right?
That's a great Ralph.
2-1 to Lorenzo Cain with 2 out, as Vargas looks to put up a 0 in the second after being handed his second lead of the day. Cain grounded out his first time and goes after the changeup, and it's 2-2.
Well, teammates against each other.
Played together in Kansas City.
Spent a lot of time, Cain, in center field watching his teammate pitch.
Laid off that changeup, and it's 3-2. Cain is 2 for 12 in his career against Vargas. Two out and nobody on. Yelich would be next. And Cain rips one in the left for a base hit. So Vargas unable to have himself an easy inning, gives up a 2-out hit. Christian Yelich's player profile presented by Verizon.
Thousand Oaks, beautiful place, about 25 miles northwest of Los Angeles.
26 years old, first round pick in 2010 out of high school.
Gold Glove in left field, I believe, right? Because he played center and left for the Fish.
Vargas keeps it away from him, ball one. Yelich to a 4-pitch walk and scored a run in the first. Has more free time now that the season's over for Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, I guess so, right?
Well, goes by the name Pete Davidson during the Saturday Night Live season. I mean, they are dead ringers.
They are
dead ringers. I just don't know which one is taller, because, you know, Pete's pretty tall.
He is pretty tall, but he's not Yelich tall.
I don't know.
I've seen him. Yeah, he's not Yelich.
So maybe
tall.
he's 6'1", Yelich is 6'3".
Yeah, Pete Davidson, he's tall for TV tall.
Gotcha.
Not for athlete tall.
You're saying most comics are not, you know, not particularly blessed with a lot of height. It's kind of a broad statement. That's line to center field. Conforto circling in, but gets there. And that retires the side. So Vargas works around a 2-out hit, gets Yelich on the liner as the tailgating continues. You know, there's a game going on inside. Oh, but that does look really good. Yeah, I'd stay out too. Michael Conforto up for the second time as we start the third. Conforto struck out his first time up. Mesoraco and Gonzalez to follow. Mets scored 3 in the first. Brewers tied it in the bottom. Nimmo homered to start the second. And now Conforto fouls one back, and it's 0-2. And the breaking ball hit out to right center deep, back toward the wall. That ball is out of here. Michael Conforto with his second home run of the series. His 6th home run of the year. It came on an 0-2 pitch. And the Mets now lead it 5-3. Second straight inning the Mets have led off with a home run.
Well, that was an unusual at bat, folks, at home. On the first pitch, he swung through a very hittable ball. Second pitch, he fouled a very hittable ball straight back. And on the third pitch, he got a changeup that short stroked it 420 feet. And a lot of take back, short stroke. Ball was away from him and still hooked it into right center field.
So in this series now, we've seen Conforto hit a one-handed home run, and we've seen him hit, as you call it, a short stroke home run. Shouldn't that be a pretty good lesson for him, that he doesn't need to take that home run cut to hit home runs?
Here's an interesting thing. Every time we go on the road, visiting or the home booths always come up to me and ask, what's wrong with Conforto? He's got the most beautiful swing. How come he's not hitting? I mean, everybody in baseball is wondering why he's not one of the more elite hitters of the game. He certainly was last year, and I think he will be at some point this year too. He's got that kind of talent.
As Rocco chases the curveball, and he strikes out for the first out.
You just don't know, because of the type of injury he had last year, how long it's going to take him to get going, in my opinion, you know? Maybe now is the time.
I guess my point is that neither one of his home runs in this series has come on a classic home run swing, but he's got so much ability and so much power that all he needs to do is just hit the ball.
You know, you're right, Gary, and I think in a strange way, and I think Keith has said this before also, in a strange way, he is a line drive hitter. Home runs are going to be almost like mistakes for him.
Well, especially when you look at the distribution of his home runs over the course of his career, he is line to line.
Yep.
I mean, you look at a graphic rendering of his home runs, and it's almost a thing of beauty how well distributed they are from foul pole to foul pole. So that emphasizes what Keith's talking about. As Gonzalez finds the hole on the right side, he's got a base hit. So the Mets with their 6th hit against Chase Anderson.
Find it funny that no shift against Adrian Gonzalez against a pitcher like Anderson.
Well, he took advantage of it. That's a ball that's often, right where the second baseman's playing.
No shift. Did they fall asleep, or because he's had so much success against Anderson, they decided to go without the shift?
Here's Reyes, who drew a bases-loaded walk in the first inning for just his 2nd run batted into the season. And he takes a fastball away. Well, Chase Anderson's home run issues continue. That's 13 now that he's allowed this year in 54 innings of work.
I've got 11 in this ballpark.
Grounded down to first. Nice pickup by Aguilar. Out at second, and no relay as Anderson was slow to cover. So they get the fielder's choice for the second out, but the pitcher unable to get off the mound to give themselves a chance for a double play.
Well, good play by Aguilar, coming up with the backhand and getting the ball to second base. Good pick by the big fella. And I think even a better choice by Saladino. What happened is that Anderson, he was slow, so he ended up with a foot race to Reyes to first. Going to lose that.
So the inning stays alive for Vargas, who struck out his first time up.
Watch Chase. As soon as the ball's hit, he becomes a spectator and then runs. Can't do that with a guy like Reyes' speed. Tried to make up for it, but one thing you can learn at home, kids, the faster someone can run down to first, the less of an angle you take. You just run straight to the bag as opposed to coming out 10 feet before the bag and turning up. If they're real fast, you have to run straight to the bag.
And that, of course, makes it harder to receive that throw from the shortstop. Vargas looking to butt his way on, but Anderson comes off the mound to get it and throws him out to end the inning. Not a bad idea by Vargas, but that's the 3rd out. Conforto's home run makes it 5-3 New York. Field. The Mets take on the Cubs at 1:10. The first 15,000 fans in attendance will receive a Mets fanny pack presented by Empire City Casino. Plus, all kids 12 and under can run the bases postgame in the Mr. Met Dash presented by Northwell Health. For tickets, visit Mets.com/tickets. Mets have hit 2 solo home runs today. Nimmo and Conforto the last 2 innings.
And there's 2 different ways to do it. Really watch the follow through of both the players. Nimmo on the left has a really exaggerated uppercut and long high follow through like a golfer. And then when you watch Conforto on the 0-2 pitch, ball away, his follow through is just really a short swat at the ball. He doesn't go any further than where he is at there, as opposed to Nimmo wrapped it right around his back. 2 different ways, same result.
And it's given Jason Vargas a 2-run lead as we go to the bottom of the 3rd. Vargas gave up 3 in the first, hung up a 0 in the second. He'll take on Ryan Braun to lead off the 3rd. Braun walked and scored in the first inning. Aguilar and Shaw to follow for the Brewers, who came into the day second in the National League in home runs, behind the Washington Nationals, who lead the league in home runs even without all their parts in place. Fly ball down the right field line. Bruce coming over for a look, but that's beyond his reach and foul. Good news for the Nats is they should be getting Daniel Murphy back fairly soon. He's finally begun his rehab assignment today. He had been out after the knee surgery, and then he was sick for a few weeks, and now he's finally begun his rehab assignment. So
forget how big of a role Murphy plays in that lineup. I have a hard time wrapping my brain around how I'm going to judge Mr. Braun and his career here in Milwaukee, because he's got some amazing numbers, but almost feels like a Rafael Palmeiro career to me at this point. All the numbers you'd like, but nowhere to go after the career's done.
Well, anybody who has suffered the stain that Braun has, he strikes out on the curveball. They're looked at differently, but I think even within the subset of people who have had either PED allegations or failed to test, I think some guys are looked at more harshly than others, and I think Braun goes in that category.
Well, he's looked at more harshly because of the MVP, but also he tried to bring down an innocent person.
Exactly.
That to me is egregious.
And Palmeiro pointed his finger at Congress.
Both egregious.
Right? So
maybe that's why I put them in the same book.
Exactly. Whereas, I don't know, somehow guys like Bartolo Colon they don't get judged quite as harshly. And you can quibble with that all you want, but I think
it's a reality, though.
As far as public opinion, as far as the opinion of the people who will vote on people for the Hall of Fame, I think those things count. Jesus Aguilar chases a changeup, and it's 1-1. Aguilar struck out his first time up. Now, that having been said, I think that as the voting group for the Hall of Fame gets younger, I think that some of those players may get judged less harshly, because I think some of the younger voters don't think it's that big a deal.
So Clemens and Bonds go in someday?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe McGuire. I don't know, but I think that seems to be the general tendency, and I don't want to paint with too broad a brush, because I'm not saying that every younger voter gives those guys more of a pass, but I think it seems to be the tendency.
Well, as the voters get younger, their percentage goes up. That's why we're using it.
Whereas the Veterans Committee, which is made up mostly of Hall of Famers, that's hit in the air to deep center field. Back goes Conforto, back near the wall, and that ball is out of here. Off the black. A long home run off the bat of Jesus Aguilar, his 8th of the year, to cut the Met lead to 5-4. First hit of the series for Aguilar. Mets had held him in check until that bomb.
He's just a big man, and when he makes contact, I don't think we give him enough credit, because he's a good hitter too. Flat out hitter. confetti. I mean, there was just no doubter. I don't know where Conforto was going because this hits off practically right below the Miller.
Yeah. I thought it hit the block. It hit the scoreboard.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a long way. .414. I think that's a gross underestimate.
.414.
It's 400 to the fence, and he hit it 40 feet up onto the scoreboard.
Listen, we've had a home run this year to a place that was 408. We got 403 for the number. So who knows what's going on?
Travis Shaw broke his bat, singled, and drove in a run in the first inning. And he takes a fastball for a strike, 2-1. Where's this game going to end up? And same spot, and Vargas gets the call on that one too, and it's 2-2. Hernan Perez on deck, and Shaw flies one out to right center. Back in the gap goes Bruce, and he can't get it. Backed up by Conforto. Shaw heads to second, and he's in sliding with a double. Looked like a ball Bruce was going to catch, but he does not. And Shaw against the lefty is 2 for 2.
Well, Counsell had a good feeling about Shaw against the lefty, and he's rewarded. 2 pitches right in the same place. One jammed. His first hit jammed on this one. He was able to split the outfielders.
Did Jay take a bad route to that ball, or did he just not have enough speed to get to it?
He did not take a bad route. He just did not have enough speed, and you don't have enough speed in center field to make up for it either.
So the tying run at second with 1 out, and here's Hernan Perez, who drove in a pair with a double down the left field line. And he takes a changeup for a strike.
See the grip here, 2-seam grip that drifts back out over the middle of the plate. It's supposed to be in. He didn't get it in enough.
5 hits now against Vargas. And Shaw, who did not play the first game of the series against the lefty, is having himself quite a series. 3 for 4 last night, 2 for 2 tonight.
Matz with 95, Vargas with 88. There's a big difference.
After Perez pulled the ball down the line his first time up, Wilmer Flores playing right along the line this time around.
Should be playing along the line every time, the way that Vargas pitches, with the changeups, fastballs in. Saw that a lot with Santana when he pitched for the Mets. Everyone should be played to the pulled side on the left side of the infield.
There's a good changeup, and it's 0-2. Remember, Santana requested that David Wright play along the line, because his feeling was that he was going to get beat more along the line because of his changeup. And then when David started playing there, remember Oliver Perez said, I want David to play along the line for me too.
Oliver
popped up foul backing out of play.
Let me see. Command Oliver and Johan Santana.
Well, he also didn't throw a changeup the same way that Santana did.
No, I talked to Johan about it once, about that, and he said, I want him to play in the line because if I give up just a base hit, I'm not going to give up 3 or 4 straight base hits, Right. So I don't want any damage down the line.
0-2 to Perez with Tyler Saladino on deck. And he goes down swinging on the changeup for the second out. That's 5 strikeouts for Vargas. Shaw still at second with 2 away.
Well, the changeup is starting to round into gear. It's supposed to be down and away though, and he's holding on to it, pulling it across the strike zone a little bit.
So now Saladino has struck out his first time up. Saladino making his 7th start, serving as the everyday shortstop right now for the Brewers, the Orlando Arcia having been sent to the minors yesterday. And the curveball fouled.
a lot of the Brewers were kind of surprised. Arcia's batting average was way down, but his defensive runs saved. His defense was so important to this team. But I think Craig Counsell and the entire Brewers organization just want him to get some pressure off him, go down, get his stroke back, and he'll be up soon.
See that second wave of sunlight now moving onto the field. The sun coming through the windows up on the first base side. You've got that big massive roof, and then below that the windows, and so more sun for the players to deal with shadow in between.
It's kind of a strange year for Arcia. Defensive run saves good. 5 throwing errors not so good. He had some game-winning RBIs after the 7th inning, which is good. So it's kind of a mixed-up year for him.
He's a dynamic player,
yeah.
And he had a really good offensive year last year, and there's no reason to think he won't do that again. They just want to take a little pressure off him by sending him down. Saladino bangs one up the middle. That's a base hit. Shaw being waved around third. He'll come in to score the tying run. Tyler Saladino gets this game even again with a 2-out RBI hit. It's 5-5.
Well, neither of these pitchers so far are fooling anybody, and that's why you have 10 runs on the board. Fastball up in the zone. Saladino's hot as a Brewer. And Shaw with the secondary lead, the look back, and he scores pretty easily because Conforto had to go to his right.
Jacob Rame gets up in the Mets bullpen. There is action as well in the Brewers bullpen with the pitcher's spot due up next. And Dan Jennings, the left-hander, is up for Milwaukee. Domingo Santana is out on deck to pinch hit if Eric Kratz keeps the inning going. Kratz grounded out on the first pitch he saw from Vargas in the second. Eric Kratz just acquired yesterday for what they call future considerations from the Yankees.
What does that mean?
Cash.
If he pitches well, if he plays well, they might throw in a higher pick.
Player to be named later. International slot money, you know, that kind of stuff. Kratz is now 37 years old. The Brewers are his 7th different major league team. Started out in Pittsburgh. We saw a lot of him in Philadelphia. Oh, 2 to Kratz. Spectrum high-speed pitch.
Not many times you'll see in a ball game a pitcher failing to reach 90 miles an hour. Today's game, anyway.
Stephen Wright.
Yeah. Knuckleballer for the Red Sox who pitched in today's game.
Red Sox won that game, beat the Braves again, which gives the Phillies a chance to take over first place if they can beat Toronto today. 0-2 to Kratz, and he just got a piece of that to stay alive. Final game of this series will be on Pix 11 tomorrow. Your City Probables. Zach Wheeler for the Mets. Jhoulys Chacin has done a really nice job for the Brewers.
Let's go to Boston this year, right?
September.
Always remember that Omir Santos game for as long as I will do TV.
Jonathan Papelbon. Third ball misses 1-2. Omir Santos homering in the top of the 9th, and that was I think it was the first year of video review for home runs.
Yeah.
And they had to go to review. Runner goes. Kratz lines it to Reyes, who gets knocked over backwards but hangs on to end the inning. Brewers get a pair to tie. Aguilar the home run. Saladino the 2-out RBI hit. And this game is 5-5 as we go to the 4th inning at Miller Park. Hang on, Reyes. Well, Brandon Nimmo gets to start from scratch for a third time today. Came up to lead off the game in a 0-0 game, and he drew a walk. He came up in the second inning in a 3-3 game, hit a home run. Now he starts the fourth inning in a 5-5 game. What does he do for an encore?
How many at-bats is he going to get today?
At this rate, maybe 9.
Feel like those spring training games, right? When you're trying to rehab.
Well, somehow Chase Anderson is still in this game. He's threw 80 pitches through 3 innings. They had Jennings up in the last inning in case Anderson's turn came up. And he runs one inside on Nimmo and finally gets him out. This date in baseball history is presented by Empire City Casino. It was on this date in 1993 that Jose Canseco played a ball off his head.
So appropriate. I watched him in right field for years pitching with Jose out there. It's so appropriate that it happened to him.
I love the music. Cabrera flies one out to left. Braun battling the sunshine. Without the sunglasses, he makes the catch. Well, it works for him. 2 out.
So what you do is you shield the glove is in between your eyes and the sun. That way you're peeking through just to glimpse the ball. And that's why you never take it down until the ball gets in your glove.
Well, Anderson has a chance for an elusive 1-2-3 inning after giving up runs in each of the first 3 innings. Faces Flores, who drove in the first Med run with a pop fly single in the first. Each team with 5 runs and 6 hits through 3. One of those days. So the backstop 2-0. "46 pitches in that first inning against 9 batters, including 3 walks, one of them with the bases loaded. And now he's behind on Wilmer 3-0 with Jay Bruce on deck.
3 pitches, not even close after getting the first 2 outs.
Well, they've got the lefty up in the bullpen again, so this could be Anderson's last batter with Bruce and Conforto to follow. And there's a strike, 3-1 to Flores. And Wilmer whacks one foul, 3-2. Line center field, down for a base hit, and Flores has his second hit of the day. This one struck much more firmly than the first.
See Mr. Counsell coming out. Fastball up off the end of the bat a little bit, but still line drive to center field. Here he comes.
So that's going to be all for Chase Anderson. He gets chased in the 4th. And Dan Jennings will come in a 5-5 game. We'll be right back. where Miller Park currently sits. County Stadium, the home of the Braves through the 50s and into the 65 season before they moved to Atlanta. And the Brewers played there from their arrival here in 1970 until Miller Park opened in 2001. There's the old scoreboard from the 50s. Augie Donatelli umpiring the plate.
Well, there you go.
Well, Dan Jennings will make his second appearance in the series.
Inherited runner stranded. Well, he allowed an inherited runner to score in the first game of the series in the 5th inning to Dan Jennings.
Running to face Jay Bruce with the tie-breaking run at first and 2 out. Bruce has walked and flied out 0 for 1. And Jay whacks a fastball foul, 0-1. Jennings faced Bruce on Thursday night, and Jay hit a bullet to right field that was caught. Just 1 for 8 against this left-hander, and just 1 for 10 in this series. And quickly 0-2. Homer in the dappled sunshine at first base. The shadows certainly present an odd tableau in this ballpark.
Yeah, they do.
Got the strip of sunshine still out in left field, the massive shade, and then the sun coming through those heavily guarded windows so that it's not straight sunshine, but rather corrugated sunshine. 2-2 now to Bruce. And Jay grounds one toward the shift. Saladino with a nice stop and throws him out. Trying to get it through the shift, but Saladino, playing on the right side, makes a very nice play and makes sure that Bruce couldn't get it through. That's a 6-3 put out in your scorecard, and another dagger. We go to the bottom of the fourth. Jacob Rame comes out of the bullpen for New York. We're leaving Jason Vargas after 3, and Dan Jennings batting for himself. A late swing foul to start.
Yeah, Rame's game to fly now. Only 3 innings pitched for Vargas. 9th game pitch for Mr. Rame. He's usually done more kind of mop-up duty, but and have some important innings this afternoon.
Well, with Lugo probably not available today after 2 innings yesterday, and Gazelman having gone an inning and 2/3, it's going to be on some other folks to get some key outs in the middle of this game. Rame worked in the first game of the series on Thursday night. Worked a scoreless inning.
For that first swing by Jennings, he should be taking 2-1 here.
He'll have no such thing.
Come on.
You know, in this ballpark, with the roof open, with day games, you just never know how it's going to go because the ball just flies out of here. We had a game here. I think it was the first year Miller Park was open. It was a weekday.
What year was that?
01.
01, okay.
It's a weekday afternoon game, and the Mets, it was early in the season, but the Mets were stretched for starting pitching, and they sent a guy named Brent Hinchliffe to the mound. It's the only start he ever made for the Mets, as Jennings goes down on strikes. And he got tagged for something like 8 runs in 2 innings. But what was most memorable about it was the Brewers hit 5 home runs that day, including 2 by this guy named Angel Echeverria, who never hit home runs. And he hit 2 absolute bombs out of the ballpark.
ECH or HECH?
Yeah, not like a
Okay.
Danny.
Yeah.
It was an H. Yeah, Angel Echeverria. I think he had 5 that year. He had 2 in that game. And it was a lesson in what Miller Park can produce on warm days with the roof open,
right.
especially in the daytime. So hold on to your hats. Caden fouls one into the ground. It's 1-1. Get to Citi Field for Free Shirt Friday, June 1st. The Mets take on the Cubs. All fans in attendance will receive a Michael Conforto replica jersey, courtesy of Geico. Purchase tickets at Mets.com/tickets.
No picture of the jersey?
Well, you know what his jersey looks like. It's got a 30 on it.
Oh, I get it.
And it says Conforto on the back.
Free Shirt Friday, I always think of like they have like really catchy kind of like Bruce with the 3 U's. So.
Down the right field line, slicing toward the stands and foul. Well, I think they do, but you know they like to change it up. You know how sometimes on our broadcast,
I should have figured it out when you said replica.
You know how sometimes on our broadcast we do our opens a little different.
Yeah.
Why do we do that?
Because we're bored.
So
okay.
The Free Shirt Friday people are no different. They like a little change of pace every now and again.
Our open was very interesting today because we were told do whatever you want, just get through it. 2.5 minutes.
How do we do?
Really don't care. We did all right, I guess. You know, I mean, no texts, no nothing. Everything's good
so far. It's a weekend.
Yeah.
May not hear from anybody till Tuesday.
That's right.
That's outside ball 4, and Kane is on with a 1-out walk. Well, the Mets got burned by the Brewers running game last night. 2 steals against Syndergaard in the 3rd inning led to a couple of runs, and now Kane is aboard to start the 4th.
He's got 11 stolen bases. He's going at some point. Gets a pretty big lead over there. I don't know if you folks at home can tell, but Lorenzo Cain is a big man. 6'3", every bit at 205. The biggest person I saw who had the most tremendous speed, and I don't think Cain has that kind of speed. There's the most stolen bases National League this year. Was Willie Wilson, who I played with, who was, you know, football and track star in New Jersey, and he was 6'3", 185, 190. Maybe heavier when you think about it.
He could really move.
Oh, he could fly. He's fun to watch.
The triples machine, Willie Wilson.
He was.
That's lined into right field, and Yelich has a base hit. That'll go all the way back to the wall. Kane flying to third. He's being waved around. He's going to try to score, and does so all the way to third with a triple as Yelich. And the Brewers have gone in front for the first time today, 6-5. Second triple of the year for Yelich brings in the go-ahead run.
Looked like something off speed to Yelich. A little change up, down and away, and he was all over it, hooking it into the corner. The Mets play a defense against Yelich with Bruce in right center field, so by the time he gets to it and gets it in, no contest for the speed of Kane. He slipped a little bit coming out, but then watch him pick him up and put him down. That's some hustle there. And Yelich can fly too. So a lot of athleticism with this young Brewers ball club. Those are the two acquisitions, one via free agent, Kane, one via trade with Yelich.
Infield in now for Ryan Braun with one out, and he fouls back a first pitch fastball.
Well, Yelich's swing, he can cover the ball on the outside part of the plate. You've got to try to get in on him because he has such long arms. He can cover things, pitches off the plate.
Braun has walked and struck out today, 0 for 1. And he hits one past the mound up the middle, and that'll bring in another run. Yelich trots in to score. It's 7-5 Milwaukee.
Well, just kind of a squibbler off the inside part of the bat, but just well placed with the infield in. You know, it's an interesting choice to have the infield in my estimation there, because this feels like a 10-9,
right.
12-10 kind of ball game.
You're better off limiting the damage.
Yeah, but I can understand the infield being in also. Island back out there again. We might threaten the mound visits by both teams today. Watch Braun, he can try to steal too.
Braun has 4 steals and 6 tries this year. Jesus Aguilar at the plate, hit one off the scoreboard for a home run in the third. We got an update on the distance on that home run from the initial supposed distance that we got.
It's 400 to center, so hit off the middle light sign. 387, Gary.
Braun running, and he steals the base easily.
You got to check this, and Mets might check this because Braun did a pop-up slide. He might have been in the air when Cabrera kept the tag on. Look at a huge lead he got. Now watch him pop up. And Cabby tagged him. I don't know.
No challenge by the Mets. So a steal for Braun, his 5th of the year, puts him in scoring position with 1 out. A good slider by Rame gets him ahead on Aguilar, 1-2.
So you can't do the pop-up slide anymore because the infielders will keep the tag on you. And if you're in the air when the tag comes, he was on the base, but
he was in the air for a split second, but not while the tag was on. And Aguilar down on the 98-mile-an-hour fastball from Rame for the second out.
That was the best sequence of pitches from Jacob in this inning so far. Completely fooling Aguilar. Slider he swung through, and then a fastball up and in tied him up.
His second strikeout. So 2 out, and now Travis Shaw is having himself quite a series. 2 for 2 today, a single and a double after 3 for 4 last night.
Now if you're thinking out there as a pitcher, you have a first base open in this lots of runs scored game, you'd be very, very careful, wouldn't you? know, in today's game, it's all about velocity, velo, and 2 batters ago with that hit by Ryan Braun up the middle. Look at the fielding position of Rain. It's all about velocity, how hard you throw, not about getting in a fielding position. That would have been an easy out for him if he's in the proper position.
Shaw pops it up. Flores racing, gets there, side retired. Let's finally get Shaw out, but the Brewers score 2 and go in front 7-5 after 4. Just visit SNY.TV or download the NBC Sports app today for live streaming coverage of every SNY Mets game.
It's an early appearance of the streaming. Very nicely done.
Well, we've got ourselves quite the run prolific game. We go to the 5th inning. Mets down 7-5. Michael Conforto, who homered his last time up, leads off against Dan Jennings and takes a fastball inside. Conforto, Mesoraco, and Gonzalez for the Mets in the 5th. So I have to correct something I said earlier, Ronnie. And I hate to do this.
But you're going to do it anyway?
Because I really love the guy. But I said that Howard Johnson had never had a 30-30-30 year. Bob Waterman from the Elias Sports Bureau took it upon himself to email me and tell me that Howard actually did have a 30-30-30 year. 1991, 38 homers, 30 steals, 31 errors.
So if I were you, I wouldn't take responsibility. I'd put it on Waterman.
You know, I tried to keep Howard off the hook.
Yeah.
Because, as I said, we really love the guy.
Me too. Pound for pound, one of the strongest players I ever played with.
Unbelievable.
I mean, if I don't know if you've been lucky enough, Mets fans, to meet Howard at some point, but
bounce toward the hole. Saladino on the backhand, the running throw, and Aguilar can't make the scoop, and Conforto is safe. Saladino made a tremendous play to end the 4th inning, almost made another one there.
No,
a base hit for Conforto.
Yeah, I don't know if they would have got Conforto at first, because once the ball bounced, I think Conforto would have been safe, but nice try all around.
So Michael has his 2nd hit of the day. It's going to be very close had Aguilar pulled that out.
I was saying really quickly, if you've been lucky enough to meet Hojo, the thing he gets all the time is how smaller he is than you think.
Well, I mean, you could say the same about Cespedes.
Yeah.
I mean, they're kind of built the same.
Yeah.
Cespedes probably a few pounds heavier.
Thicker, yeah.
Yeah. There's Mesoraco, but another guy who falls into that category, Willie Mays.
Yeah.
I mean, Willie's only 5'10".
How about Reggie Jackson? Whenever you run into Reggie Jackson, you're just
not
really surprised.
Yeah, not as tall as you think. Mesoraco had an RBI single in the first, struck out in the third, 1 for 2 against the starter Chase Anderson, who lasted just 3 2/3. Both starters out early in this game. Mesoraco a late swing foul into the screen, and thank goodness that screen is there. That's one of those balls that's just, for years, was rocking in the stands and you hold your breath. And now, fortunately, you don't have to hold your breath anymore.
And just hope. Yeah. And hope it wouldn't catch anybody.
Adrian Gonzalez on deck. And Mesoraco goes down on the curveball for the first out. So 1 out and 1 on. Now Gonzalez. Adrian's 1 for 2. He had a base hit to right field his last time up. Conforto started early, and then Jennings.
This is, it put a 10 over the circus.
What's
going
that?
on? What happened is that Jennings got kind of spooked on the mound because Conforto thought of going. So what did he decide to do? Just quick pitch the ball and lob it over to the plate.
Basically threw the ball flat-footed at 69 miles an hour, and he got a strike.
What a beautiful thing.
Everybody was caught by surprise. Slider off the plate. Conforto took a few phantom strides towards second while Jennings was still in his stretch.
It was like he almost got a balk from Jennings. Instead, he got a strike.
That was weird. Maybe you should try that more often.
I don't know. Gonzalez will be down 1-2.
No, I meant Jennings.
Oh, Jennings, yeah. Just lob it in there.
Well, you know. Change of speeds.
Where are they going to put that on pitch usage?
I think that's the XX category.
Okay.
Don't know. 2-1 to Gonzalez with Reyes on deck. And Adrian whacks one to third. Could be 2. To second for 1, but then Perez, who had to run a country mile to get to the bag, didn't have the opportunity to make the transfer in turn 2. I mean, he had to come from all the way over there.
Let's watch his first movement on the ground ball. Yeah, he got the good start. I think he tried to rush. I don't think he had to rush it as much as he thought he did because, you know, Adrian doesn't run that well.
Well, another double play negated by the shift.
I mean, we just watch it all season long. I mean, it's sickening, but this is where we're at.
AJ Ramos up in the Mets bullpen, trying to get back to the mound and put last night's nightmare behind him.
Problem is, if you try to talk about it, everybody has a reason why it's being done and why it's right. Well, all I know is it's a double play ball that's not turned. But something's got to be wrong with that.
Well, I think that the problem is that with all the analytics that lead to the shifts, they haven't factored in the loss of outs because of the shift on double play possibilities. And obviously at some point somebody's going to come up with an algorithm that will make it clearer whether that is an issue that they need to worry about in terms of putting together their shifts.
Yeah, because you know, I mean, it's pitch count, it's keeping a pitcher in the game, it's a lot of different things. I mean, I understand Perez trying to close that hole, but Gonzalez in his last at bat, they didn't play a shift and they gave him the hole. So, you know, it's so, you know, sometimes it seems so happenstance, arbitrary.
And I know it's not. I know there's a lot of research that goes into all of these shifts. It's just that the collateral damage sometimes doesn't get factored in. Reyes pounds one into the ground foul, 2-2. Reyes drew a bases loaded walk in the first, hit into a fielder's choice in the third. It if he keeps the inning going, Ahmed Rosario's come out on deck to pinch hit. And that's why Ramos is up in the bullpen.
I think, no, I'm not belittling the intelligence of what's going on here. What I'm belittling is that at the end of the day, once you get these numbers, does it help you play baseball, the game of baseball? Not the theory of the game of baseball. The game
Hold over the bag. That's a fair ball going down the line toward the corner. Gonzalez rumbling toward third. Glenn Sherlock's going to wave him around. And the relay throw will not be made. Gonzalez scores all the way from first on the double by Reyes to get the Mets back within a run. It's 7-6. Reyes' second RBI of the day.
Nice game from Reyes. Good hustle from Gonzalez. And Braun got lost at the Bermuda Triangle down there. Past Shaw. And the good hustle by Gonzalez. Now we know he doesn't run well. And he probably thinks he's only going first to third. But Braun lost it out there in left field. Then missed the cutoff man. And well, he tried to slide and block it instead of playing it off the wall. See, you got to know your runner. You just play that off the wall. Gonzalez is going to break it down and not score.
Now Rosario bats for Rame with the tying run at second and 2 out. Ahmed homered last night, his third of the year. And he takes a backdoor slider for a strike. So for the beleaguered Reyes, a very important day. He had 1 run batted in this year. He's got 2 today.
Good for him. Needed it. Push athletes into a corner. It's interesting how they respond, right?
1-1 to Rosario with Nimmo on deck. Dan Jennings got the final out in the 4th. Now he's given up a run in the 5th and trying to hold a tenuous lead. And Rosario lays off 2-1. This is the 9th half inning of this game. There have been runs in 7 of them. It's a lot of numbers.
Yes, it is.
Backdoor slider misses, and now it's 3-1. Rosario's gone 91 straight plate appearances without drawing a walk. He's drawn 4 walks this year. But it would make sense for Jennings to pitch carefully with Nimmo on deck. Let's see what he throws him here on 3-1. Reyes at second and 2 out. And Rosario takes ball 4. So there you go. 91 straight plate appearances. That comes to an end. He draws his 5th walk of the year, and now 2 on for Nimmo. 4 walks given up by Brewers pitching today. Nimmo walked in the 1st, homered in the 2nd, struck out in the 4th, 1 for 2. And his at-bats have gotten a little bit better against left-handers. We'll see what he can do against this lefty.
Swung at some pitches out of the strike zone in his last at bat against Jennings. See Kratz giving a multitude of body signs before he goes with the digital signs.
And it's chopped right near the second base bag. Saladino steps on the cushion to retire the side. Mets settle for 1 in the 5th. 7-6 halfway through. 3 amazing theme parks, including Universal's Volcano Bay Water Theme Park, a tropical paradise like no other. Plus, stay on site at Lowe's Sapphire Falls Resort. Just go to sny.tv/Toyota and enter today. Well, A.J. Ramos gets right back in the saddle.
Yeah, back into the fire. 1-run deficit for the Mets here, and Ramos, after walking his 2 batters in the walk last night.
Hernan Perez takes ball 1, and we check in with Steve Gelb. Steve?
Well, guys, interesting to note that this is the first time in A.J. Ramos's career he has pitched an inning before the 6th inning. And one thing that I did witness today about a half an hour before batting practice ended was A.J. Ramos, Dave Island, and Mickey Callaway leaving the field together and going into the clubhouse as Jay Bruce fights off the sun and makes the out right there. But clearly going in for a meeting because everybody else stayed on the field on the team. And again, I'm completely speculating. I have no idea what that meeting was about, but these are 2 guys, 2 coaches that pride themselves on being communicative, and you wonder if they were talking about potentially getting him into some lower leverage situations earlier in the game to get him back on track.
Well, if they were, there's no low leverage situation right here because this game is on the line.
Tyler Saladino drove in a run with a base hit his last time up.
A lot of times when you have that meetings like that, Steve, is you're just trying to install confidence in your pitcher and just say, hey, listen, okay, last night is done. The sun has come up. We need you on this ball club. We're going to pitch you. Be ready to go and figure it out.
Go ahead, Steve.
Well, the other thing that I was going to say, Ron, is I actually spoke briefly with Dave Island about last night, and the frustration is clear about his inability, it seems, to throw strikes in games. And as Dave Island was saying, he'd rather him give up a grand slam last night than walk that batter. And so, you know, whether it's a conversation about getting him into lower leverage situations, which this may or may not be, clearly there's a message about you have to find a way to compete and give yourself a chance, because last night he was not giving himself a chance.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, we saw it during Island's mound visit last night.
Oh.
In the course of Ramos's meltdown, he was not delivering a warm and fuzzy message at all. And strikeout of Saladino for the 2nd out. So Ramos using the high fastball. He's gotten the first 2 outs in the inning.
And then, you know, Ramos's defense after the game, he took full responsibility. There was no, you know, boy, you know, I'm out of sync or this or that. He said that just can't happen, but it did. Got to move on.
Well, if it makes him feel any better, he's got some company. It's the Mets' 57th season.
Yeah.
It was their 19th walk-off walk that they've given up in their history. Driven deep to left by Eric Kratz, headed toward the wall, and it's out of here. Eric Kratz in his first game as a Milwaukee Brewer crunches a home run, and the Brewers extend their lead to 8-6. Kratz isn't much of a hitter, 203 lifetime, but he does have power, and he put a charge into that one.
Oh, nothing better than your first game with a team going deep. Supposed to be a cutter away, and it was middle. Ramos knew right away.
Now Dan Jennings is going to take a second turn at bat.
I mean, long home run too. He knew. Kratz knew it right away.
Second home run for the Brewers today, and they have both been scalded. Aguilar off the scoreboard in the 3rd, and now Kratz into the 2nd deck. Fastball strike to Jennings, 2-1. Jennings getting an extended relief outing. He's already gone an inning in the 3rd, and it's his 2nd at bat. He struck out in the 4th, and now batting in the 5th. Anyway, the list of walk-off walks is interesting. The one that stood out to me was Pete Falcone, who issued a walk-off walk. He started that game, and he finished it by walking in the winning run.
I mean, that's amazing.
Got a GF. Game finished.
GS, GF, WO.
Jennings slashes one over the bag, and that's a fair ball. Nimmo plays it off the sidewall, and Jennings will stop at first with a 2-out hit. So Dan Jennings getting a chance for a couple of at-bats, rare for a reliever, and he comes through with a base hit.
I'm back on the phone.
That is Jennings' second hit in 4 career at-bats all this year.
I mean, he was peppering the Mets dugout when Rain was in there pitching, but keeps this one fair. Nice play by Nimmo. Read that it was going to come off that wall.
So back-to-back 2-out hits, and now Lorenzo Cain up for the 4th time in the 5th inning. He's grounded out, singled, and walked. Mets 6 runs, 9 hits. The Brewers 8 runs and 10 hits. This one might take the entire Memorial Day weekend. And gets jammed, but it missed, and now it's 2-0.
You know, one thing I noticed from last night and from today from Ramos, where's the breaking ball? You know, like he's got a good one, but you're not seeing it. It's mostly that cutter he is throwing for the most part.
That's ripped foul. As Ed Cedar, the third base coach, got low bridged. He changed his number.
Yeah, right.
He used to be 6. Now he's 0. Which is not a number, by the way.
Oh, it's Lorenzo Cain's number.
Ah, there you go. And that one sits high, and it's 3-1.
Oddibe McDowell, did he have 0?
Well, Ray Ordonez wore 0.
Al Oliver.
Omar Quintanilla. Ball 4, and that inning continues. So Ramos, who retired the first 2 hitters, unable to seal the deal. Home run, single, walk, and now he's got to face Christian Yelich with 2 men on.
Mr. Flexen is throwing in the bullpen now.
Flexen, who's yet to make a big league appearance this year. Yelich had a triple against Jacob Rame in the 4th. Rame gave up 2 runs in that 4th inning. Ramos has given up 1 here in the 5th. After Jason Vargas lasted just 3 innings today, he gave up the first 5 Milwaukee runs. And a first pitch curveball in for a strike, nothing in 1. By the way, one other Met wore a 0 besides Ray Ordonez and Omar Quintanilla. Terry McDaniel wore a 0. Tony Clark wore double 0. Toward the gap in left center field. That's going to split the outfielders and go to the wall. Jennings is in. Cain right behind him. A 2-run double for Yelich, his 2nd extra base hit of the day. And now it's 10-6 Milwaukee. And Ramos's woes continue.
Again, another cutter that's supposed to be on the inside corner. It just bleeds over the middle of the plate, and Yelich does not miss it.
Well, after a rough outing last night, another rough one today for Ramos. He's done after just 2/3 of an inning. Unable to get the 3rd out here in the 5th. Chris Flexen coming on to relieve him. 10-6 Milwaukee. We'll be right back.
Well, what must that veteran pitcher be thinking? He has had such a rough go of it.
Yeah, you know, you have empathy when anyone is going through this kind of stretch, but after last night and today, that stare is a loss for answers.
Season debut for Chris Flexen, who started 9 games for the Mets last year, who's pitching well at Vegas. He's been sitting around for a week. He comes in to face Ryan Braun, who hits the first pitch right back to Flexen. He throws 1 pitch, gets the 3rd out of the inning to retire the side. But 3 more runs for the Brewers. They lead at 10-6 as we go to the 6th at Miller Park. Well, Milwaukee got the river, got the lake, lots of water.
Little ferry.
On the road in Milwaukee, presented by Old Dominion. First Harley Davidson's built here. They're still built here.
Must not have enough there.
Thoughts on the bubbles.
Good job.
First working the typewriter. Boone Logan will be the 3rd Milwaukee pitcher of the day.
Yep.
Nothing about Fonzie or Happy Days.
James Lovell, maybe.
You know, Alan Bean passed away today.
I saw that.
4th man to walk on the moon.
Marquette.
Marquette, Golden Eagles, used to be the Warriors.
Butch Lee, my favorite player growing up.
Al McGuire. Squiggy. Nobody ever talks about Lenny. They only talk about Squiggy because, you know, people love saying Squiggy.
So Laverne and Shirley happened here, right?
Haas and Pfeffer Incorporated. Cabrera's 1 for 3 today. Had a base hit back in the 1st inning.
The other day we went to lunch all together and we had, I had my first cheese curd. I had never had a cheese curd before.
You had never had a cheese curd?
No.
It's a local delicacy. You notice all the local delicacies here put on like 20 pounds at a time. The sausage, the cheese, the beer, the cheese curds.
Well, we're going to dinner tonight. We'll try to do our best.
Do they have vegetables?
We had some today.
Pulled toward the hole. Saladino with another nice pickup. Takes his time and throws out Cabrera. Saladino has distinguished himself in the field so far today.
Well, he's done it both offensively and defensively. Nice backhand.
And the Keith Worthy mustache.
Yes, he does.
So one out. Here's Wilmer, who's 2 for 3 today. A bloop single to drive and a run in the first. A hard hit single to center in the fourth. Mets had leads of 3-0 and 5-3, but it feels like a long time ago. Another chance for Saladino. And he throws out Flores, 2 out. So 2 up and 2 quickly set aside by Logan. Let's check in with the studio for a game break with Eamon McEnany. Nola had 88 pitches through 6, so it feels unlikely that he'll get a chance to go the distance. But we'll see. Here's Jay Bruce, over 2 and a walk, and Logan starts him off with a slider for a strike.
Does it seem like we have a no-hitter watch every single day, or is it just me?
There have been an inordinate number of no-hitters taken into the 7th inning this year. Problem is getting the pitcher past the 7th inning. Hit or no hit. 0-2 to Bruce.
The shadows have changed again. Now the pitcher is in the sunshine and the batter's in the shadows. Yeah, just about every sun shadow condition you could have so far.
It's like a combination platter.
The poo-poo platter from your favorite Polynesian restaurant.
Also with no vegetables.
That's right. Lots of cherries though.
1-2 from Logan to Bruce, and he lays off the slider. 2-2. Michael Conforto would be next. By the way, speaking of that Phillies Blue Jays game, you see who's playing shortstop for the Blue Jays today?
I did.
Russell Martin, first career start at shortstop. I mean, we've seen him play third base, and we saw him play shortstop briefly.
The 9th inning.
Right. But starting a game, that's big.
Or maybe it was the last of the 8th, because I think the Mets won that ball game.
And now he's batting, trying to break up a no-hitter as a shortstop. 3-2, and it's inside, ball 4. Second time today that Bruce has gone from an 0-2 count to a walk. Did that against Anderson in the first inning, and now he does it against Logan. And the Mets have a 2-out base runner for Michael Conforto, who's already homered and singled today, 2 for 3. Michael has 2 home runs in this series. And he takes a fastball up and in for ball 1. Maybe we could use a little pickup.
Yeah.
And now Logan having trouble throwing strikes, and Kratz is going to run the ball out to him. Kratz is catching all these guys for the first time. I mean, he may have run across some of them at some point in his career, but you're talking about a guy who was in a different organization yesterday and now is catching his first game with a new team.
I mean, he could be catching guys, and for the first time runs out there, it might be the first time he's spoken to people.
But his first bullpen session yesterday with Brent Suter, but really hasn't caught anybody else. We're on picks tomorrow. We're back on SNY for a long day of baseball on Monday. Day-night doubleheader in Atlanta on Memorial Day. Our coverage of Game 1 begins Monday at 12:30. That'll be Jacob deGrom's start right here on SNY.
I did not know it was a day-night doubleheader.
Oh yeah.
Oh. Full metal jacket.
Mets have no idea who's going to pitch the nightcap of that game. Could be just a bullpen game.
Mickey Callaway was saying they might not know until after Game 1.
Maybe, depending on who pitches. I mean, the goal is going to be to get deGrom to throw 9 innings in the afternoon.
It could be like the old days. You know, you knew you were pitching because the ball was in your locker.
2-2 to Conforto with Bruce at first and 2 out. And Michael goes after the slider out of the strike zone, and Logan gets through the top of the 6th inning. His first strikeout. Oh, the pretzels are ready. 10-6 Milwaukee. Chris Flexen came on to get the final out of the 5th inning. Stays on for the 6th to face Jesus Aguilar, who homered back in the 3rd inning against Jason Vargas. 1 for 3 on the day. And Aguilar takes a fastball for a strike. Aguilar, Shaw, and Perez for the Brewers, who put up 10 runs on 11 hits today. Flexen, the 4th Met pitcher of the afternoon. None of the first 3 fared well, and now Flexen gives up a hit to Aguilar. Cut off by Conforto, and Aguilar will settle for a leadoff single. His 2nd hit of the day. Well, there's been a lot of baseball today. Now it's time for something a little lighter.
Look at number 4. He's by the railing. The hot dog has got. He's losing out though as they go into the home turnabout. This could present a whole new race, but hot dog has kicked it up again. He's number 4. He's wearing the striped uniform, and he's going to break the line with Johnsonville.
Congratulations to the hot dog, the pride of Peoria. Is the hot dog a sandwich? It's an age-old question.
Is it?
I think not.
Hot dog is original.
It's, you know, it's a tube steak. Very different from a sandwich. You have a feeling on the subject?
I think it's just so original. A hot dog is a hot dog. There's nothing to compare it to. It's not a sandwich. It's not a whatever. It's the hot dog.
Well, it's the hot dog, but it's also a Frankfurter.
Yeah.
It's a Frank for short. It's a wiener. I mean, there are lots of different names.
I mean, I don't have hot dogs anymore, but I happen to be a fan of the hot dog. You just, you and I, we get to a certain age, you're not allowed to eat that stuff anymore. Not that you don't want to.
I secretly every once in a while do.
You do?
Yeah. Maybe without the bun.
You know, occasionally.
Which means it's definitely not a sandwich.
Occasionally I still get to go to a game, and sit for a couple of innings. And if I do, I always have a hot dog if I'm not working.
Outside, and Shaw is on with a walk, and so Flexen has allowed the first 2 to reach in the 6th inning, a single and a walk. Here's Flexen, who's pitching in Vegas and pitching well. 3-3, 3.4 ERA in that difficult pitching environment, but still giving up a lot of hits, and that's kind of the norm for him. He's got to have impeccable command. Made 9 starts and 5 relief appearances for the Mets last season when they were stuck for pitching help. Probably a little bit ahead of schedule. He's still just 23 years old. Here's Hernan Perez, and he tries to hold up, but he went around on the slider, and it's 0-1.
We need him to get some outs. I mean, running out of people in that bullpen.
Oh, it's going to be, I think, up to Flexen to pick up the majority of what's left in this game. After all, he's a starting pitcher, and he's on plenty of rest. This is with a sinker, and it's 1-1 to Perez, who drove in 2 runs with a first inning double, 1 for 3 on the day. Mets led 3-0 and 5-3, but the Brewers scored 2 in the third to tie, 2 in the fourth to take the lead, and they've been in front ever since. Pounded into the ground, 1-2. Well, Russell Martin did break up Aaron Nola's no-hit bid. In fact, he drove in a run and knocked Nola out of the game, and that game's now 1-1 in the 7th.
Did you say Buchholz with another good start?
Buchholz pitched well, but Arizona lost after they scored 7 runs last night. They got shut out today by Oakland, by Daniel Mengden, who threw a 2-hit shutout for the A's. Oakland's 2 games over 500. I don't know how many people realize that.
No, they've got a team of young athletes. They almost have young players. Some guys with some great power, but they've gotten some better pitching than they thought they would get. Sean Manaea has become a star.
I mean, it's impossible in that division with Houston and the Angels in Seattle. But 4 of the 5 teams in that division are over 500.
Just the opposite of the AL Central,
where they're all under 500.
That's right.
3-2 to Perez, and it's inside, ball 4, and now the bases are loaded. Single and 2 walks, load him up, and Tyler Saladino coming to the plate.
Well, for a team and a staff that has really been preaching to their pitchers about throwing with conviction, being aggressive, going after hitters, the last couple of days have been pretty troubling for the Mets pitching staff.
Mets pitchers have walked 6 already today. Saladino had a run-scoring hit in the 3rd. He's 1 for 3 on the day. Bases loaded, nobody out, and a chance to blow the doors off this game. And he takes a fastball for a strike. There is nobody up in the Mets bullpen. This is on Flexen. Jason Vargas went 3 innings. Jacob Rame worked an inning. A.J. Ramos 2/3 of an inning. Couldn't finish off the 5th. Flexen picked him up there, but now has created his own mess. Saladino back to the mound. Home for 1. Throw down to 3rd, and they get the double play that way. Almost always the catcher throws to first base, but Mesoraco sensed an opportunity to get Shaw going 2nd to 3rd and did that instead. The 1-2-5 double play.
I've seen this happen twice this year, and I had never seen it ever in my life.
I don't know why Wilmer felt he had to tag him.
Well, he didn't know the rules. Just a small problem.
So now 2 out, 1st and 2nd. Here's Eric Kratz, who homered his last time up. And he takes a fastball for a strike. It's great presence of mind by Mesoraco to realize he had to play at 3rd.
It's like Shaw is a guy without any speed or didn't get a good jump and opted for that out. Very nice.
That one's toward the middle. Reyes knocks it down, tries to get a force, can't, but by knocking it down made sure that Perez couldn't score. Now they tell you with 2 out and a runner at 2nd, make sure you keep it on the infield, and that's what Reyes did.
You know, we talked about Cabrera, the kind of angle that you take to the ball to keep it in front of you. Interesting, when when Reyes threw that to Cabrera's limping like he hurt his knee.
It's an infield hit for Kratz to load him up.
See how Cabrera kind of reaches behind him? It's like he almost twisted his knee.
I think he wasn't expecting the throw.
Yeah.
Because Salvadino had already arrived at the base. Jonathan Villar is going to pinch hit. And Cabrera walking it off. And getting no attention from the dugout.
Nice play by Reyes, though. Guillaume anticipating. Will get loose.
So Flexen still with a chance to keep the Brewers off the board in an inning where he's given up 2 hits and 2 walks. Got the timely comebacker for the double play. And I mean, the fact that Mesoraco threw the ball to third base ultimately saved a run.
That's right.
Cabrera says he's fine, flexing that right knee. So here is VR, who played second base yesterday, went 0 for 3. Bats with the bases loaded and 2 out. Switch hitter batting from his better side, the left side. And takes a fastball for a strike. Taylor Williams is up in the bullpen for Milwaukee. Getting ready to come on in the 7th. Brewers have 13 hits. They've drawn 6 walks. That's a lot of base runners. I mean, they're finishing their 4th time through the order in the 6th inning.
That's right.
And Craig Counsell knows he's got that great back end of the bullpen if the Mets try and launch a comeback. Flexen ahead 0-2 on VR. And he gets him with a slider to end the inning. So somehow Flexen puts up a 0 in the bottom of the 6th. Still 10-6 as we go to the 7th.
I mean, how come no one wanted to sign Matt?
I mean, he
Mark
wanted
Reynolds?
to go back to Colorado. They didn't want him.
You know, it's good for him, though. He's from that area, right?
Right.
Close to Washington,
West of
D.C.
Virginia.
Yeah. Taylor Williams in the game. Walks and strikeouts for Williams.
Williams worked an inning in the first game of the series. Takes on Devin Mesoraco, who takes a slider for a strike.
He pitched the 9th inning in game 1.
Mesoraco had a run scoring hit in the first, struck out twice since then. Playing a 4th straight day, and he flies one to shallow right. That's going to fall in for a base hit. Mesoraco got jammed, but muscled it out for his 2nd hit of the day. And the Mets have the leadoff man on in the 7th. And now Adrian Gonzalez has gone 1 for 3. So that's 10 hits for the Mets today. Be interesting to see as we move through the late innings here. Is Josh Hader available after going 2 innings yesterday? You would think not.
Agreed.
Is Corey Knebel available after throwing a ton of pitches in the 9th inning yesterday? He got pulled in the midst of that 9th inning after walking 3 batters and giving up the tying run.
And they're hoping more that Williams might be able to give them a couple innings here.
The way this game is going, I don't know if anybody can do that.
That's right. If you're a bullpen guy, you're hoping every time the phone rings it's not me.
Is that true?
Gary, yes, there are some games that, I mean, you're ready to go at all times, but you prefer really not to get in. Look at the bugs. What would be the Milwaukee midge?
They seem to be very fond of Taylor Williams, but they are not midges. Something lower to the ground. 0-2 to Gonzalez. And Adrian takes a fastball up and away. Williams throwing hard. His average fastball velocity this year has been 95.5, but throwing a little harder today. Taylor Williams from Kent State University. And he strikes out Gonzalez on the high fastball for the first out.
Well, the higher velocity has been an issue for Gonzalez all year long. Although he's corrected the ship a little bit in May. May has been strong.
So 1 out and 1 on, and now Reyes, who's had one of his better days of the year, a bases loaded walk, an RBI double. Batting with 1 out and 1 on, and Reyes takes a fastball for a strike. Chris Flexen is out on deck to bat for himself. The Mets still have Guillorme, Bautista, and Nido available on the bench. They do have action in their bullpen.
I mean, if Reyes gets on, you got to bat for him.
I would think so. I mean, you got to take your shot for the same reason that they had to bat for Syndergaard in the 7th inning last night.
Right.
Paul Sewald, who's celebrating his 28th birthday today. Happy birthday, Paul, is up in the bullpen. Reyes, though, down in the count 0-2. And he just got a piece of that fastball to stay alive. Well, the Brewers haven't lost yet when leading after 6.
Tried to last night.
Conversely, the Mets have more wins when trailing after 6 than any team in baseball. 6 of them already this year. And they almost pulled off another last night. Reyes hits a comebacker. Williams to second for 1. Saladino on to first in time for the double play. And the side retired. 1-6-3 double play ends the inning. Stretch time in Milwaukee, 10-6 Brewers.
Zing boom, Torero. Did you know that was a?
I didn't. Could they not find any words to rhyme with barrel? I love that they have Barrel Man.
Yeah.
I mean, what other ballpark would you find Barrel Man?
Just love it. Every ballpark has its own idiosyncratic seventh inning stretch time. It's nice.
Yeah, they're not going to play Lazy Mary here.
No.
Roll out the barrel makes a lot more sense. Chris Flexen's worked an inning at a third in relief. Somehow found his way out of trouble in the sixth. Quickly falls behind Lorenzo Cain, leading off the home seventh. Cain's already up for the fifth time this day. He's been on base 3 times with a single and 2 walks and scored 2 runs. And he takes a strike at the knees, 2-1. Jason Vargas went 3 innings, allowed 5 runs, 6 hits. Jacob Rame 1 inning, 2 runs, 2 hits. AJ Ramos 2/3 of an inning, 3 runs, 3 hits. Flexen thus far unscathed. And Cain drives one out to center field, chasing Conforto back to the track at the wall, and it's off the fence and bouncing away from him. Bruce comes over nicely to back it up, and Cain's on base for the 4th time today with a well-struck double.
Fastball down middle. Didn't get all of it.
I think he thought he got it.
But the ball's still carrying, hits off the wall and past Conforto. And like you said, good hustle by Jay Bruce to turn this, keep it at a double, not a triple.
Well, so far, over the first third of the season, Lorenzo Cain has been worth every dollar they paid him. They gave him a 5-year, $80 million contract at age 32. And it has so far been a steal. Here's Christian Yelich, who's already driven in 3 runs today with a double and a triple. Today's starters brought to you by People's United Bank. Neither one fared particularly well. Mets gave Jason Vargas a pair of leads. He couldn't hold them either time. Chase Anderson threw 90 pitches in those 3 2/3 innings.
46 in the first.
Yelich has driven in 3. He scored 2 today.
I had a start here, Gary, in 1992 where I threw 17 pitches to the leadoff hitter at County Stadium, Pat Listash. Nightmare.
So here's the contrast to that. Last winter, the Pirates traded Garrett Cole to the Astros, and they got back a pitcher named Joe Musgrove.
Yeah.
And he's been on the disabled list all year. Finally came back last night, and Musgrove threw 7 scoreless innings, 67 pitches in 7 innings. I mean, that's almost impossible.
Yeah,
9.5 pitches per inning. You got to be in the strike zone.
well, guys are putting the ball in play. You know, that's the key. Musgrove, when he's at his best, keeps the ball down, sinker ball pitcher.
Two coming to Yelich. Hits it to the right side. Cabrera to his right. Off balance throw. Too late. And Yelich has an infield hit. Cabrera just can't cover that ground quickly enough to make that play.
Gets rid of it as quick as you can. Not a lot on the throw. And of course, Yelich has great speed.
Well, this was the opening game of the series. And Cabrera took a shot to the knee.
That's right on the double play. And then on the play that Reyes made up the middle, kind of got all twisted trying to catch that ball and spun around, couldn't even get up, and now talking to the trainer about what happened.
Stayed in the game, but unable to make the play on Yelich, who's got an infield hit. So Yelich is on base for the 4th time today. 1st and 3rd and nobody out. And Ryan Braun coming up. Braun is 1 for 3 and a walk. He's driven in a run. He's stolen a base. He scored a run. And it turns out of the way of Flexen's fastball. Ball 1. Yelich at first, a threat to go. 4 steals this year. And Braun takes a sinker low and in, and it's 2-0. Well, let's see. Flexen's worked an inning and a third. He's given up 4 hits and 2 walks, and somehow he hasn't been scored on yet.
Wow.
That's almost impossible. He is in serious danger, though, of that changing in a hurry. Behind on Braun with Aguilar on deck. And now it's 3-0 to Braun. Coming up tonight on Geico Sports Night at 11 o'clock. There's a lot of football.
Ronaldo's team beat Liverpool, huh? Whew.
I can tell Eddie Warman put together the notes.
Yes.
Big soccer guy. Make sure to stay tuned. 11 o'clock tonight. If this game's over by then. That's ball 4, and Braun is on with a walk, and now the bases are loaded with nobody out. So that's now 4 hits and 3 walks in an inning in the third for Flexen.
All he needs is a 1-2-5 again.
Well, it worked for him in the last inning. Second straight inning, the Brewers have loaded the bases with nobody out. Aguilar already has 2 hits today, a home run and a base hit. Kane at third, Yelich at second, Braun at first, and Aguilar takes a strike. Cardinals bounce back and beat the Pirates today 4-1 behind Jack Flaherty.
What a year he's
lowered
had.
his ERA to 2.15. 6 innings today.
It's a rookie, right?
Yes.
He didn't have any time last year. Young.
Good cut by Aguilar. Fouls it back, and it's 0-2. So with the Pirates losing, that means the Brewers are guaranteed not to lose ground. They started the day with a 3-game lead. I think it can probably be said that there's not a single National League division where the team that you expected to be leading is leading.
That's right.
Different in the American League. 0-2 coming, and Aguilar just got a piece of that.
And despite 6 or 7 teams that are really taking it on the chin this year, there's a lot of good races.
Well, because some unexpected teams have popped up.
Yeah.
I mean, none more so than the 2 teams atop the National League East right now, the Braves and the Phillies. Phillies, by the way, just went back in front 2-1 on a Nick Williams home run in the 8th. They can take over first place with a win today. Here's the 0-2. Line, center field, base hit for Aguilar. That brings in Kane. Yelich right behind him. Aguilar drives in a pair. The ball gets loose, and the runners move up to second and third. 12-6 Milwaukee. Aguilar reaching down to the ground to stroke that base hit into center field. He's got a 3 RBI day.
We talked about his 2-strike approach. He just tries to put the ball in play and kind of flips it into center field. Conforto looks like he's trying to throw it to Reyes, overthrows him. Flores doesn't move. Catcher doesn't get over there. Pitcher can't back up. And Yelich had a good read. He knew it was a hit right off the bat, so he scores easily. 12 points on the board for the Brew Crew.
So it's got to be an E8, right?
Yes.
Single, 2 RBIs, and an error on Conforto, allowing the runners to move up. Looked like Reyes had an opportunity to cut that ball, but he pulled his arm down at the last one.
He didn't make a play. Flores should have known that the ball was high, so he should have moved. He just kind of didn't feel like it, and it's an ugly play.
And it's 5 crooked numbers on the board now for Milwaukee. Still nobody out in the inning, and Travis Shaw fouls one back.
Had that one, Gary. Yesterday I was bad. I wasn't paying attention. I would have had that one.
Except it was about 25 rows in front of us.
I'm ready for. Sorry, ready for it. Just in case.
Well, you're always in ready position. Shaw with a single, a double, and a walk today, and he drives this one out to left. Nimmo comes in and makes the catch, and holding at third is Braun. That's the first out of the inning. So Flexen finally records an out in the seventh. The Brewers have tied their season high with 12 runs. They've got 16 hits, which is one shy of their season high. This is a game the Mets once led 3-0 and 5-3. But everybody who has pitched for the Mets has gotten beat up. Vargas, Rame, Ramos, and now Flexen. Here's Hernan Perez, a 2-run double back in the first. And he takes inside ball one. So as the Mets riffle through their possibilities for the second game of that doubleheader on Monday, the candidates are dropping quickly.
You mean DL? They're going on the DL, right?
Well, Corey Oswalt was a candidate, but he's now on the AAA DL. Flexen was a candidate, but with the extensive work he's going to get today, he probably takes himself out of the running. So I guess P.J. Conlon is a candidate to come up and start.
That's right.
Having started a game already this year for the Mets.
And that depends on where he's at, right? A lot of times.
Right. Oswalt was on the right day before he got hurt. Or it could just be a bullpen day, but that just it sets you back. You know, unless DeGrom can give you 9 innings in the afternoon game.
It's a lot to ask since no one goes 9.
Right. 2-1 to Perez. And that's grounded toward the hole. Reyes on the backhand recovers in time. And he gets the out at first as a run comes home. Close play. But first base umpire said Rob Drake said that Perez was out. And we'll see if the Brewers challenge the call. Either way, Braun comes home on the play to make it 13-6. And the Brewers are going to challenge the call at first. And he was safe by a mile. So this should take about 3 seconds for them to overturn. It'll be an infield hit for Perez. Reyes got to it on the backhand, but that little bobble wound up costing him.
Kind of blocked it, didn't catch it.
Ryan Gorman and Jerry Lane have their crews in the bunker, and it did take a record short amount of time for them to overturn that call. Good for them. So Perez has his second hit and his third RBI of the day, and now it's 13-6 Milwaukee. Still only 1 out in the inning. Aguilar held at second on that play. So it's first and second and 1 out. And Tyler Saladino the batter. And they've now scored that an error on Reyes.
Wow.
That's a tough error.
That's a hit. Come on.
Saladino takes one the other way, and he's got a base hit. Aguilar will come in to score. Perez racing to third. He'll be held up there. It's a double for Saladino, his second RBI of the day, and the runs are flowing like beer in Milwaukee. It's 14-6 Brewers.
Gets us off the end of the bat, but got enough of it to get it in the corner. Bruce got to it quickly and got it in.
So 4 runs home in the inning, and the floodgates are fully open. Another way on that that ball that Perez hit that has been scored an error on Reyes. I can guarantee you that Perez will challenge that decision and it will get overturned.
Guarantee. I like that. I'm leaving it as a hit then. Okay.
I think Chris Flexen would prefer that it not get overturned, but he might be the only one. Eric Kratz shoots one foul. I mean, that's a hit.
I mean, that's a very, very difficult play. Kind of the Lindor, the elite guys make that play.
Eric Kratz has a home run and an infield hit in his first game with the Brewers, who now have a season-high tying 17 hits. And that one's hit toward the hole. Reyes has this one. The runners are going to hold as he throws them out. I don't know why Perez didn't score on that play with the infield playing back, but that's the second out of the inning. There is nothing being hit softly in this inning.
Still, you have to score just to give your hitter Kratz an RBI. I mean, the infield's back.
So now Domingo Santana will be the 9th man up in the inning. He's pinch hitting for the pitcher Williams with second and third and 2 out. Santana started last night, went 1 for 4, and made 2 terrific plays in right field.
Let's see what happened with Perez.
No, he's mad at himself.
Yeah, he's mad at himself. So he just
he misread it. I think he thought it was a line drive, and that's why he froze. He still could have scored after Reyes played the one hopper. I don't think he was going to throw the ball home. In any event, Santana takes a strike, and it's 1-1. No action in the Mets bullpen, so it is on Flexen to finish this game.
5 crooked numbers for the Brewers in this game.
Amazing.
Whoa.
3 in the first, 2 in the third, 2 in the fourth, 3 in the fifth, 4 in the seventh. And that's rocketed down the line, and that'll bring in 2 more. Perez and Saladino will score. Domingo Santana with a 2-run pinch double, 16-6.
Well, who's our player candidate to take an inning in this game? Adrian Gonzalez?
Well, as long as Flexen is going, unless you're afraid of blowing his confidence,
yeah,
you might as well just let him roll and make it like a start for him. Although Jerry Blevins is getting up now in the Mets bullpen, that's a little hard to figure.
Yeah. For the day game tomorrow.
Lorenzo Cain led off this inning with a double off the center field fence. He's got his 6th plate appearance coming in the 7th inning. Grounded out his first time up. Since then he has singled, walked twice, and doubled. He scored 3 runs. It's not often you get 6 plate appearances in a game, much less in the first 7 innings. So the Mets, who had a couple of early leads in this game, now taking a shellacking.
There's a Rocco going straight to the crib to bed after this game. Did you say 4th in a row, Gary?
4th in a row. First time he's done that since all the injuries.
Be assured of tomorrow off.
I think that's a lead pipe cinch.
Yeah.
He might sit the last inning of this game. Two coming, and Cain takes it outside, and now a full count. Brewers now with 18 hits on the afternoon. And Cain hits one through the hole. That's a base hit. Santana around third. He heads home. Nimmo's throw to the plate. Skips on by. Down to second base goes Cain. And the Brewers have tacked on the field goal. It's now 17-6.
Hard hit ball. Nimmo decides to go home. It's by Mesoraco. Santana scores. Pitcher not backing up. Runner goes to second. Especially in the better part of valor there. Mesoraco kind of was blocking the play and then got out of the way.
Flexen unable to seal the deal in the seventh, so Blevins is going to come on. 17-6 Milwaukee. Well, Jerry Blevins couldn't get Christian Yelich on the big spot last night. Now he faces him in a low leverage spot in the seventh inning with 7 runs already home in the inning for the Brewers, who have blown the cover off this game.
Nets are talking about getting some lower leveraged things for their pitchers to pitch, and they weren't thinking of this kind of game.
Meanwhile, Yelich is a home run shy of the cycle. He tripled in the 4th, doubled in the 5th, singled in the 7th. He also has a walk and a line out. His 6th plate appearance of the day. Nets have made 2 errors in the inning. The errant throw by Conforto and the one charge to Reyes that probably shouldn't have been an error. You see the numbers for Blevins and the backward splits, which is kind of reminiscent of his year 2 years ago, when he was better against righties than lefties, but more pronounced than that. Last year, lefties couldn't touch him. His curveball was so good all year. It has not been so far this year. Yelich got a base hit off that curveball last night in the 10th inning. He was looking for that cycle. Ball on a strike.
No better time in this game to try to go for it, right?
Rocco still getting down in the dirt to block balls in a 17-6 game. Yeah, I think he's earned his day off tomorrow.
Blevins and Mesoraco cannot agree on anything.
Most runs the Mets have given up in a game before today was 12. It was in Atlanta back in April. But the Brewers have put a big hurting on them today. Now Blevins behind 3-1. And Yelich fouls off the fastball. 3-2. Last piece of sunlight drifting out through the outfield. Shadows have been an issue all day long in some way or other. And Yelich hits one on the ground. Reyes to his right has a long throw to make, just in time to get Yelich, and that retires the side. But 11 Brewers came to bat in that 7th inning, and 7 of them scored. 17-6 Milwaukee going to the 8th. Florida with a home run. Brandon Nimmo with a home run. Mets had a couple of leads in this game. Now they're down by 11. Christian Yelich moves from right field to center field. Domingo Santana, who pinch hit, stays in the game in right. And Adrian Hauser comes on to make his 2nd appearance of the year for the Brewers.
Hauser is another one of those players that came over from Houston with Santana and others for Carlos Gomez and Mike Fiers in 2015.
It's only his 4th big league appearance, and he gets to face Jerry Blevins, the first man up.
Another reliever with an at-bat.
I believe this is the 18th plate appearance for a Mets reliever this year, which would equal their total from all of last year. But clearly, Mickey Callaway does not want to use another pitcher in this game. So it'll be on Blevins to try and finish it.
I'm thinking that Blevins might just get a pinch hit and they bring a player in the pitch. I mean, you don't want Blevins pitching another inning, do you? What if he has to get out Shaw tomorrow? Yelich. You need him in the game.
Well, it seems like he's enjoying himself at the plate.
He is.
Jerry is 0 for 2 in his big league career. His last plate appearance came in 2016. And he takes a call, third strike. So that elusive first big league hit remains elusive for Jerry. Adrian Hauser, who was born in a town whose name I can't pronounce. You want to give it a shot?
Oh, looking at it.
Tahlequah?
Yeah, Tahlequah.
Tahlequah, Oklahoma. Tahlequah, or Tahlequah, or who knows?
Yeah, I think Tahlequah.
If you're from Tahlequah, send us a tweet or something and let us know how you pronounce it. Brandon Nimmo muscles one into shallow center, and back goes Saladino with a nice over-the-shoulder catch for the second out.
Did Saladino do any wrong here in a Brewers uniform? All over the place. Base hits, great defensive plays.
Made it look easy.
Yes, he did.
There was nothing easy about it. So 2 out in the 8th, and now Luis Guillorme is going to bat for Asdrubal Cabrera, who's had a little wonkiness in his knee the last couple of days. Guillorme had a really impressive pinch hit at bat in the 9th inning yesterday against Corey Knebel.
It really was.
Worked him for 10 pitches, drew a walk. Pops this one up. Another chance for Saladino, perhaps, or Yelich. Or Braun, who comes in to get it. So Guillorme retired, and so are the Mets in the top of the 8th. And Blevins will go back to the mound. Home 8th inning. It's like a beer garden party for the Milwaukee Brewers this afternoon. 17 runs on 19 hits. Their season high, also the season high allowed by the Mets. 9 different Brewers have driven in runs today. Ryan Braun drove in one with a 4th inning single. Every starting position player plus Domingo Santana off the bench, they all have runs batted in today. And the Mets have used 5 pitchers, and the first 4 have all had ugly lines. Jerry Blevins came in to get the final out in the 8th and in the 7th, staying on for the 8th now. Jason Vargas, 3 innings, 5 runs, 6 hits. Jacob Rhame is the pitcher of record. He gave up the go-ahead runs in the 4th, 2 runs in 1 inning. A.J. Ramos then got the first 2 outs, couldn't finish off the 5th, gave up 3 runs, 3 hits. And then Chris Flexen wound up going 2 innings, giving up 8 hits, 7 runs, 4 earned, 3 walks, 1 strikeout. He was able to hold the dam for a while, and then it broke. Braun hits one well deep but foul. They'll make the upper deck.
Made the upper deck, yeah.
Yeah, by a pretty good margin too.
No, big time. It bounced back into the first row.
It was like a Michael Aga shot with the other side. Who did that the other day at Citi Field? Hit one way up in the upper deck in right field.
Forget. This game has fried my brain.
Curveball hit deep to center field. Conforto back and has enough room to make the catch. 1 out in the home 8th. Get all the reactions, comments, and opinions. Those should be interesting from today's Mets Brewers game on Mets Blog, presented by Citi, featured on SNY.TV.
It's only one game.
Well, it's only one game, but coming on the heels of last night, which was such a horrible way to lose, it feels like a lot more than one.
Well, it was a horrible way to lose, but 15 minutes prior, it was such a great comeback against a real good bullpen and their closer.
And then the problem that you run into now is that the Met bullpen is so greatly stretched. Got another game here tomorrow, and then 2 games on Monday.
And it's not only 2 games on Monday, 2 games against the Atlanta Braves, who smoked the baseball.
Braves, by the way, have fallen out of first place. The Phillies won their game with the Blue Jays, so the Phillies in first place this late in the season for the first time since their glory days.
Glory days, right?
Since 2011, the last time they were in first place this late.
Well, you knew this was going to be a critical time, right? This road trip, Milwaukee, a first place team, the Atlanta Braves, who are a real success story and have a lot of nice young players, and still, even though they lost today in Boston, still scoring runs.
Yep. And then you go home and play the Cubs for 4 games, and then after 2 with the Orioles, you have the Yankees. This is a very difficult stretch. 3-0 to Aguilar, and he takes a strike. Eric Sogard is out on deck to bat for Travis Shaw.
Still trying to get over Aguilar's 414-foot home run.
You mean the one that went 500 feet?
Yeah, that one.
Ball 4 to Aguilar. He's on base for the 4th time today. That is 8 walks to go with 19 hits. 27 base runs.
Wouldn't hit a batter.
Not yet. Maybe it's time. Here's Eric Sogard. Sogard came off the bench, had the leadoff hit in the game-winning rally for the Brewers last night in the 10th inning. Just called up the other day, had been in a huge slump.
Did you say he was 0 for 28 before that hit?
0 for 28. He had been sent down, and so he'd been in the minors for a while. But yeah, he snapped an 0 for 28 when he got that base hit in the 10th inning last night. But he seems to do that all the time against the Mets. Had a huge series against New York last year. Blevins gets a fastball in for a strike. There's got to be some value for Blevins, though, pitching in this kind of a situation, doesn't there?
Yeah, I was thinking about that because I was advocating for having one of the everyday players pitch. 2 reasons. 1, I thought you might need Blevins tomorrow. 2, I just like watching an everyday player pitch when it's a blowout game. But yeah, I was thinking that it hasn't been good for Jerry, so this is a chance for him in a big league game to kind of work on his stuff and try to find it.
And the other piece is, with Sewald and Gazelman and Lugo having such success against left-hand hitters, it almost, especially with Blevins struggling, it makes you less worried about saving him for a big spot tomorrow. Does that make sense?
It makes sense because those guys will be rested now. Although Seawald got up for a moment, didn't he?
He
in
did,
this game?
just briefly. But I mean, it's not as though Blevins has been lights out. He's had a lot of trouble getting the key left-hand hitters out.
Yeah, so maybe something will click for him here in this meaningless 8th inning.
By the way, did we mention happy birthday, Paul?
28. Yeah, you mentioned it.
Yeah, it's still
28
it's still his
candles.
birthday.
The worst birthday I ever had was San Francisco. My birthday's on the 19th of August. It was the 18th of August. Eddie Lynch asked me, say, I'd like to take you out for a beer. We'll have a beer after midnight. That way we can celebrate your birthday. I said, I don't really want to go out late tonight. Let's have it in San Diego tomorrow. We love that town. Mets played an extra inning game. Plane was not there. By the time we got to San Diego, it was after 12. Never had a chance.
Burris reels in the fly ball by Sogard for the second out. Best laid plans. You know, baseball players, they're not really fond of birthdays.
No, of course it's closer to getting released.
I mean, it's a very short career.
That's right.
And every birthday brings you closer to the end. Now, if you're turning 23 and you're in the big leagues, you know, that's a great thing. But, you know, once you get to 28, 29, you guys don't really want to celebrate those things anymore.
I think 28 is probably the last one. Yeah. Once it gets to 29, 30, 31, then it's
especially now.
Clock starts ticking.
Especially now when teams you know, have an aversion to players over 30, unless you're the Mets and
or the Giants.
Reel in these former All-Stars in their mid-30s.
Perez cracks one to deep left, not that deep, and Nimmo's there to put it away, and that retires the side. So that sends us off to the ninth. That's down by 11. Ninth inning, Wilmer Flores leads off against Adrian Hauser, who has the distinction in this game of being the only pitcher who has thrown a 1-2-3 inning. He did that in the 8th. Flores takes one the other way, and Wilmer's got his 3rd hit of the day. Keith always says don't waste the at-bats. Wilmer doesn't. Let's see what's coming up on WB Mason Postgame Live. Gary Apple, Nelson Figueroa. Where are you going to start? What did he say?
I think he was eating, so it's hard to understand what he was saying.
I guess that's why Gary said he was going to interpret.
Yes.
Here's Jay Bruce 0 for 2 and a pair of walks today. Let's check in with Steve Gelbs. What do you got, Steve?
Well, Gary, I'm surprised that they're not going to talk about the pronunciation of this man, Adrian Hauser's hometown. You asked the people if they knew the pronunciation, and someone sent me a tweet with a YouTube video, actually, with the pronunciation. It is Tahlequah. So you guys were correct first time through.
Bruce finds a hole, and the Mets are mounting a ninth-inning rally. Down by 11, they get back-to-back hits from Flores and Bruce to start the ninth. Well, it's nice to know that we got one right, Steve.
In the YouTube video, does it mention the derivation of the name and the word? It sounds
I didn't sit there and
to me.
watch the entire video. I just
What else
saw
are you
the
doing down there?
I would say that's an incomplete report then, Steve.
Exactly.
Guys, if this inning continues, I'll get back to you.
Okay. Very good.
Here's Michael Conforto. Conforto has a home run and an infield hit today, 2 for 4. You know, the way this game has been going, you just don't know. We might not have seen the last of this game.
Really?
You never know.
A 3-run bomb here by Conforto.
No, I think you need about 6 hits in a row. I know that some people ridicule that, but the home run can sometimes end the comeback rally.
The rally killer, the 3-run homer.
I just feel as though pitchers feel a little more pressure when they're men on base, and that the home run can sometimes give them a fresh start. You feel that way at all?
I've never pitched in a game like this, so I don't know. I just know that somehow, some way, you got to get the 3 outs, and your job is not for anyone in that bullpen to have to get up and warm up. That's your goal.
By the way, just to build on Steve's reporting, Tahlequah is east of Oklahoma City.
Okay.
There's a nice Econo Lodge and a roadway inn.
Very nice.
Where you can stay in Tahlequah.
Use my membership points.
It's not far from Fort Gibson Wildlife Management Area and Sequoia State Park.
So lovely this time of year.
Conforto called out on strikes. Second strikeout for Hauser, and that's the first out of the inning. It's very important to know your Oklahoma geography.
Maybe you can get on Google Maps and find out where Hauser lives exactly. Take a picture of his house.
Yeah. Here's Tomas Nido batting for Mesoraco. .31 hits in this game, 13 walks, 23 runs. And it is tilted decidedly the wrong way for the Mets, who once led this game 3-0 and 5-3. But since then, they've been outscored 14-1. And now Hauser up in the count on Nido, 0-2. Adrian Gonzalez waits on deck. Mets will have Zach Wheeler going tomorrow, likely looking for a split of this 4-game series. 2 o'clock New York time tomorrow. We'll be on Pix 11. Nido down on strikes. That's 3 strikeouts for the Tahlequah Tornado.
Oh, very nice.
And the Mets are down to their final out of the day.
It's hard to judge, you know, in these kind of games, but Adrian Hauser has a nice arm.
37,000 plus at Miller Park on a gorgeous late afternoon. And now the Brewers 1 out away from beating the Mets for the 2nd straight day. Adrian Gonzalez has gone 1 for 4 today. Fly ball left field. Ryan Braun is there. And the Brewers put a big hurting on the Mets this afternoon, ringing up 17 runs on 19 hits. And the Brewers have taken 2 of the first 3 in this series as they win today 17-6.
Well, the shame of it all is that the Mets had a 3-0 lead, 5-3 lead, and could not hold it. Jason Vargas only went 3 innings, and the rest of the relievers, other than Jerry Blevins, struggled.
Big days all the way around. Christian Yelich had a single, double, and triple, drove in 3. Jesus Aguilar homer, drove in 3. Lots of offensive heroes for the Brewers, as the loss will go to Jacob Rame, not to Vargas, as Milwaukee wins the game 17-6. We'll come back with more from Miller Park in just a moment.